Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Mike.
Dan.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. Today we're going to do a top 10 games
Top 10.
of 5+ player count.
5
Right.
or more.
Our top games that play 5 or more.
Right. And I tried to stay away from social deduction games.
Of course.
Because the whole
Yes.
list could be social deduction.
Right.
It
we,
could be.
We purposely stay away from that. Like, I also talked to Tim about this on the way here. I wanted to verify it's games that play great at more than 4. Not necessarily the game has to play great at 5, right? It just has to beat that player count.
Right. So it may
Right.
play great at 8
Right.
For
that
example.
kind of thing.
Or 10.
Exactly.
Yes.
But also, caveat, right? There are games that I love that can play 5 players that there is no way in hell I am playing 5 players with.
100%. That
Usually
was
because of downtime. At
Yeah.
least we thought downtime.
Yeah.
That was actually the harder part of making the list, right? Coming up with all the games that play more than 5 or
Yeah.
more than 4 that I really love was really easy. Then it was like, then the way I looked at it was, which games, if I had 5 or more, which games would I recommend? Oh,
Sure.
let's try this,
Yeah.
right? Because that is definitely different. And then the order I ranked my games is kind of. I don't know, just the
Best
way
to
I like
worst?
those games with because it's not just that though, right? It's because it's how they play at that player count. You know, you'll see.
I rank mine the ones like my least my 10 is it's 10 on that list, and my number 1 is the one that
Well,
it's like I want to play that.
Well, what I mean though is like my number 1 is technically a game that I would rank lower than even like my number 8.
Oh, sure.
But when I'm above that player count, I would go for that game
Oh,
first.
sure,
Okay.
Because the
Well,
other game
there's
I care
only
less.
there's only one game on my list that if I have a very specific number, that's the game
Okay.
Oh, sure.
that I'm going to say we need to play this, assuming
Yeah.
we have the right people for it.
Shout out to Jonathan. I believe it was his idea to
Griffin?
do a 5+
Might have been Jonathan.
list. And I think it's
Otherwise,
a great
thanks, Jonathan. Anyways,
Yeah, just thanks.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a great idea because all of the best games support up to 4. It's easy to find a game that supports 4.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that 5th person says, "Hey, I'm coming along," and then you're like, "Crap, now what can we
I've
play?"
just eliminated 87% of my
Yeah.
collection that we can't
So
play.
You
what
just
we're
pull out all
saying
the
is,
solo games,
when that
and
5th
you're like, "Thanks for
person
coming."
shows
Yeah.
up, don't give up. Play these games.
Yeah, and that's a good way to put it.
Oh,
that is a good way to
okay.
put it.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we're gonna start. We're gonna start with Mike, and we're just gonna go
Starting with me,
Number
around the table.
1.
Wait, what?
number
Number
10.
10.
Number 10.
This is the only cooperative game that I have on my list. I am generally not a huge co-op fan.
I have 1.
This game is by Prospero Hall. It's number 158 on Board Game Geek.
Well, you wrote down all. I didn't
and
know that.
that
dude.
is Horrified.
Yeah.
We talked about this game so much in passing during this weekend. I just have so much fun with this game. When I got 5 people and I'm in the mood for a co-op, Horrified is my go-to.
Yeah.
I love this theme. I love this system. I really enjoy the different puzzles this game provides because ultimately each person has a variable power hero. They're going around trying to collect different goods from different locations, turn those goods into other locations to essentially solve a mini game that defeats a monster.
Right.
The original version is
It's Invisible Man, Creature from Black Lagoon,
Dracula,
then Frankenstein and his bride.
Right.
They're both
Yep.
in that one, and then there's one more. I think.
and they all have these neat little mini game puzzles that you're trying to
Maybe the
accomplish
Wolfman.
to defeat them and then also attack them and kill them.
Right.
There's great tension in this game. You can change the difficulty based on, you could have everybody plays one hero. Even if you have 3 or 4, you could have somebody play a second hero if
Right.
you want. But the number of monsters you put in the game determines the difficulty.
Yeah.
And I found that sweet spot where with 5, I'm usually at 3 or 4 monsters. And I've hit that sweet spot where I'm within 1 or 2 turns of beating the game
Nice.
right when that deck runs out.
So
Because
you
the
play on
deck runs
super
out.
easy mode.
Hating on my. Have you guys played Horrified?
Oh, yeah, I love
I
it.
usually play
Okay.
with 10 monsters. Is why I was saying that.
Interesting. So, yeah,
By that he means the 5 included in the game, and then 4 other friends.
I found that
Self.
sweet spot
That's
where
10.
it's it's always close to that deck running out, or the horrified track. Like my last guy's about to get killed. It's got a great tension. There's a good table talk, what you're gonna do, and when can I trade my stuff to you. Big fan of Horrified. Love it at 5.
I think Horrified is awesome. Super enjoy it. Great game.
Yeah, I've only played a couple times. I enjoyed it. It was a little too simple for me, but you're right. I just haven't played it enough to find the difficulty.
Got to just crank it
Right.
up a little bit, and
Yeah.
I
it's,
waited a while to go pick it up because I thought it would be too simple, and it's not. I just have fun playing it, and the simplicity doesn't even bother me.
And there's other games that are similar, but like for me, if Defenders of the Realm hadn't killed Pandemic, Horrified would have killed Pandemic for me.
Oh, sure.
Like-
And speaking of, we'll have our hands on Fate of the Nostromo soon, which is a game that is compared to Horrified. Not that it's the same system, but it's similar, people say. And we'll be reviewing that one and stuff sometime in the next few weeks.
There's also an American Monsters version.
I
now,
really
which
wanna play
has-
that.
It has the Mothman. Big Fallout fan here. That one looks terrific.
Yeah.
So yeah, awesome game.
All right, my number 10 is the one party game I have on this list. I freaking love this game. People give me a weird look when I talk about how much I love it, but I always have a blast. Hilarity ensues. It is chaos for about 2.5 minutes. You play it you can play it at 3 or 4 players, but like 5 or 6 is really 5 and up. Anytime you can get more than that. Happy Salmon.
Oh, okay.
Happy Salmon.
Haven't played it.
Never played it.
Comes in a fish. Comes in a
Probably a
neoprene
salmon.
Cool looking box.
looking salmon. It could be. I don't fish. Maybe it's a catfish. Anyways, you unzip it. Everybody's got their own deck, and in that deck is cards of actions you're trying to do. But the thing is so it might be like a high five or a switch places, or you do the happy salmon where you go like that. You hit 3 times with somebody else, like
What's
a
going
floppy
on there?
fish. It's a floppy fish thing. Like put your arm out. No, put your arm out. Yeah. You would do that at the same time.
You've never seen that?
It's happy
No.
salmon. Anyway, so that's a happy salmon. So you've got these actions you
Okay.
need to
Weirdos.
you got these actions you need to do, and when you you basically everybody at the same time stands in a circle. You flip over your top card. That's what you're trying to do. So you're calling out high five, switcheroo, whichever one you need. Right? There's a I'm forgetting one of them. Anyways, so you're calling it out. As soon as somebody does it with you, boom, just throw that card on the floor, and you go on to your next card. If nobody's doing it, you could take that card and put it on the bottom of your deck and go to your next card, right? If you're like, oh, I pass. First person to get rid of all of their cards wins. And
So
it is
what stops people from seeing you only have one card left and being like, well, just don't do anything Tim says?
because you're so worried about trying to get
Oh,
your
so
own stuff done.
chaotic.
It's so
Sure.
chaotic
Okay.
that nobody is paying that much attention because you're just like, it's just frantic madness. We played one time, we were being so loud, we were asked to either stop playing or be quiet. So then we started playing where we couldn't talk. So everybody's just doing the gestures.
Okay.
And it worked out really well. We were still laughing way too loudly probably, but I don't care. We played it. It's usually a game we'll play like 3 rounds. Like we just play a couple times and then we go and play something else. But for a game that's only a couple of minutes and I have yet to have a bad experience with it, everybody seems to have a good time with it. You get 5 or more people standing in a circle yelling at each other.
It sounds like chaos.
It's-
It sounds like what's that game called? Like the Pit or Pit something?
know.
There's a game where the whole
That's
game
a
is
speed game.
everyone has there's like wheat, corn, and stuff like this, and you're trying to collect certain ones for like set collect kind of thing, and all you're doing is yelling that you want to trade. Like, hey, I'll give you 3 cards. I need 2 corn. Anyone have 2 corn? Like, I'll give you 3
okay.
cards. And
Real
the entire
time.
game is just trading until it ends, and then you score
you
your
got
sets.
your-
and
Whoever
stuff,
gets
and,
that set first,
yeah,
and it's all
so it
simultaneous.
has a similar kind of
Okay.
sound to I
Yeah,
think
this
it's called
just
Pit something.
just burn through your deck.
It
Da-da-da.
sounds fun. Not with you, but it
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
fun.
Totally fair. Most of the games on my list, I think you'll feel
that
that
was a
way.
guttural reaction.
So that's my number 10 is Happy Salmon.
Okay, my number 10. I
Oh.
actually was able to do a little bit more research than normal on most of these this time. So my number 10 is the only game on my list that is not ranked on Board Game Geek.
Oh, boy.
Because it is not out yet.
Oh, boy. I know what this is.
But I love this game, and it is so honestly, the second game I wrote down was Dune Imperium. And then I was like, oh yeah, there's no 5th player expansion for that, and I was very sad because I wanted to put my favorite worker placement game on here because I really like worker placement games at 5 and stuff. Like
Yeah.
they tend to feel really good. And so the first thing I wrote was Doom Imperium. Couldn't do it, so then I thought about it. And the next one that popped in my mind, especially because again, your downtime problem. You haven't played this one yet. It is the best downtime in a worker placement game I've ever seen. It's called Shadow Network. Shadow Network, I gave a 9 out of 10.
Talon Strike
Wow.
Studios.
It is from Talon Strike Studios. It's 1 to 5 players and plays, they say, 45 to 120. Shadow Network is a Cold War themed worker placement game where you are putting your agents out on locations around the world and you're getting the intel that is there. But the thing that is one of the things that's really cool about it is, so let's say this spot has a blue and a purple intel. It also has a intel under it, a couple options of what leaks and where it leaks to, right? So if I go to this spot in North America and I get the green and blue, I then have to put either a yellow intel over in Australia or a victory point token over here. And so my intel's leaking as I'm collecting intel. And now as you're going places, you're feeding the other places of the board. It has its this little built-in self-economy that's keeping itself
Yes.
going.
So it's
that
making
plays-
other spaces valuable. So you're
Right,
always
that plays
looking at
really
different
well.
places
And
to
then
go
what
to.
those pieces do is you are building their little half briefcase pieces, and you're putting the pieces together on your player board and building little briefcases out of these pieces. And when you get certain ones, you're fulfilling contracts to your person. So this person wants a briefcase that's half blue, half yellow, and a briefcase that's 2 yellow pieces. So I'm building those briefcases on my player board, and then I'm fulfilling that contract and selling them that information, right? And then the downtime thing that is solved is because on your turn, you place your worker, you get your stuff. Next person's turn. While it's going around, that is when you do all of your player board manipulation. You're picking out where you're building your briefcases, who you're selling to, what actions you're taking on your turn, and all that happens on your off turn. So then by the time it gets back to you again, you put your worker out, you get your stuff. Your turn actually, it's kind of like space base and stuff.
Yeah, because you're not affecting board state anymore, right? After you've done that, so you might as well just
Right.
At least that's the way we have
You
played
do-
it, and we
no,
find
yeah,
that
that's how the rule book does it. You do more
Right.
stuff on your off turn than you do your turn, and so it makes the game fly. You know, you're just always thinking and doing something.
Yeah.
And so if I had to put a worker placing game on here that I think played great at the higher player count, this one only goes up to 5, but it does hit 5. Shadow Network from Talon Strikes is my choice. I still have the prototype copy. I play every now and then, and I can't wait until the Kickstarter delivers. This game blew my mind when I played it. So yes.
I love worker placement games. I realize that I don't have a single one on this list because I feel like a lot of them do suffer from downtime issues. But what you mentioned, where other players can kind of manipulate their board on someone else's turn, sounds fascinating. I would definitely play it. Not with Tim, but I would
Understandable.
play
Understandable.
running theme.
Number
it. Number
9. I
9.
almost said 2.
This is recency bias. I acquired this game a couple months ago. I played it for the first time 2 weeks ago. I played it with my family. They all had an absolute blast with it. It is number 2095 on Board Game Geek from Gap Closer Games, and this is Rival Restaurants.
I almost
Oh,
played this
okay.
at your house the other day. I recommended it.
This game,
the group went for something
the
else.
base box goes up to 6. The deluxe version that I have goes up to 8. This is a trading game. So you are actually running a restaurant, and you have a chef with a variable player power, and you are trying to get ingredients for recipes and turn the recipes in for points. As you get more points, you unlock abilities for your restaurant. But on your turn, everybody picks a location or a station that they're going to go to. You've got the place to buy fruits and vegetables. You've got an area to buy meat. You've got an area to buy grains and carbs. You've got an island where you can buy upgrades for your restaurant. And everything is tradable. You might be at that station, and I'm not this round, and I need that ingredient that you can get this round that I can't. I'll pay you an extra $100 if you buy one for me. Or maybe I'll just trade you the lettuce that I have and don't need for the rice that you have and don't need. I'll give you the ingredient you want if you buy it. So there's no downtime in this game whatsoever.
'Cause you're constantly
Everybody
on top of
moves
what-
at the same time. Everybody buys at the same time. Then everybody's bartering at the same time. And every single thing in the game is tradable, including the recipes. I can give you my recipe because It's for a Japanese recipe. You've got the Japanese restaurant, and you get an additional point if you cook Japanese recipes. No downtime at all. You're just flying through this game, and everybody's engaged the entire time. It was so much fun. I would play it up to 8. There would still be no downtime, and it played barely over an hour with Teach.
That's fantastic.
I was fascinated by this game in just one play. Loved it. I would love to play it more. I had a blast with Rival Restaurants. I love trading games. This actually replaced Chinatown.
I was just
on
gonna
my
say,
list. I'm
I
a
was gonna
huge
bring that up.
Chinatown
Chinatown's
fan.
really good.
I love Chinatown, and I now, because of the theme, I would rather play Rival Restaurants than Chinatown now.
Wow.
Really, really
I need
good
to play
game.
this with you. I need to play
Yeah,
this with
it's
you.
funny. I literally, that was one of the 2 games I suggested when we were at your house the other night, and the group went for the other one. Would it have been still great at 3? Because that's what we would have.
Oh
had.
yeah, we
Okay.
actually played it in 4, and
Okay.
that's the only count. I've not played it at 5 because there's no downtime.
You just have faith.
There's
that
no
it'll
reason to
still
think
be.
I wouldn't enjoy it at 5, 6, 7, or even 8.
Sure. I tend to have a rough time with those trading games, as you call them, just because every time I play one, I have a player in the game who judges every move you do. How did you not trade that for that? That was clearly the smart. And I'm just like, shut up.
Stop playing with those kind of people.
Stop playing with those people.
I'm just saying, every time I play the game, there's been one of those at the table. And I'm just like, you're ruining the game, by being so judgmental
Yes,
about my
yes.
trades,
Or you have those people that really want to min-max their trades.
Right. Yeah.
Just make a deal, move the game
Right.
forward, and let's see how it shakes
I'm
out
a
in
big
the end.
proponent of you need to make smart decisions. Don't just make dumb decisions, because then you're ruining the game by being a wrench in everyone's
Sure.
cog that don't make any sense. But yes, this min-max thing is like you're just
Yeah.
there's this happy medium that you got to get,
Yes.
right?
There is.
Yes.
You gotta
This
be able
happy
to give
salmon,
and
you
take.
could
Make
say.
it up on the next
happy
deal.
salmon
I
in
can't
there.
wait to play that one with you guys.
All right, my number 9. I'm going to start including my numerical ranks. So just for the record, Happy Salmon is ranked 1,371.
Okay.
It's fine.
Well.
It's way up higher if you look it up in like the party game ranks or family game ranks.
Well, sure,
Anyways.
of course.
My next game is, I am shocked and appalled at its ranking. It is ranked 6,318.
My goodness. You like terrible. No, I'm just kidding.
You love this game.
Yeah, I bet.
You love this game. Mask of the Red Death.
Oh my goodness, it's so good.
It's so good.
What a
I am offended at this ranking.
It's ranked that low because no
Wow.
one's ranked
'Cause
it,
nobody's
right?
played it.
That's got to be what
Deep
it is.
Cuts haven't heard of
Oh
it.
my God, it's so good. So it's got amazing art.
good.
It is based on the Edgar Allan Poe story of the same name.
Ooh.
So basically, the board is really just
It's kind of like the best Clue you've ever played.
it's like a clock, okay? And there's times.
interested.
The board is like a clock, and there's rooms, right? So you're going from different rooms to different room, to do things, and you've got information. Basically, you're at the ball, right? And at midnight, death is going to show up and move from room to room to room to room, killing people. You spend the first 90% of the game, 95% of the game, trying to figure out what time death is going to be in what room.
Right. So there are cards that are set out at the beginning, and you have some cards in your hand too, and so you're looking at those, and okay, at 2:00 he's going to be in blue room, right? And so you know that now, and then you have to remember that because you can't look at it again. And so yes, and then continue.
Yeah, and then you've got cards in your hand that will let you look at like other people's hands, so you're going to be able to eliminate times because you know that that card is not down here. And yeah, so so you've got different cards that will give you different abilities. Might let you look at cards. There might even be one that lets you change a card.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
But anyways,
remember.
there's all kinds of different stuff. It's got great components. It's got the clock tower in the middle. It's like sticks
got a
together
big
magnetically, and
3D
it's got the
clock
clock hand.
tower, yeah.
Clock hands
That's
on
how
it.
you keep track of
Nice,
rounds.
nice.
And so when it gets to midnight, then death goes out. You then
Program your movement.
Your movement.
So you're like, I'm going to go from this room at 1:00 to this room, and you can only move adjacent. You can't like teleport around. So you have
Death
to
teleports.
Yeah, so you have to. Everyone's dancing around at the end as you're programmed, and you're flipping the cards, and he's going from room to room, killing anyone in that room, and you just have to dance around and dodge death. And if you're the last person alive, and then have the most prestige or whatever.
Yeah,
it's
so
called.
if multiple people survive, which I haven't seen happen yet, then the tiebreaker is like most prestige.
Yeah, the first time we played, I was the only person to survive, and I'll tell you from that experience. experience. It's one of the most intense games I've ever played.
Nice.
It was amazing.
It was
man.
so good. I
that-
knew
that game blew my mind. I didn't even think of player count for that one.
Yeah.
So it plays
Yeah.
up to 5 probably.
No, it goes up to like 6 or 7. I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's madness. So much
Yeah.
moving on that board.
So much moving. Yeah,
But-
it's so good.
Yeah, unfortunately, this game is insanely difficult to find still, I believe.
Yeah, it's criminally underrated.
yeah.
Criminally underrated as by that 6,000.
How long has this game been out?
2018.
Okay.
So, you know,
Still relatively new.
Yeah.
within 4 years.
Yeah, I just played it like a year and a half ago, I think. is when
Yeah, we played
or
it
something.
with the
It was the board game mechanics rundown
Yeah.
party, whatever
It
we
was.
called it.
Do
I
you
can't
have
remember
a
what we called
copy?
it.
I do.
Yeah.
I
Sounds
do.
like I won't be playing it then.
Sounds
Exactly.
Like I'll loan it to Dan. You guys can play
There
it
you
later.
go.
Yes.
But you got to find 3 or 4 other chumps to sit in there with you. The fools. Daniel.
Awesome.
My number 9 is a classic that I actually haven't talked about on the show for a long time, but this actually used to be, for my family night, the go-to for 5 players. It just always was for me, and that's Sheriff of Nottingham.
Oh yeah.
Sheriff of Nottingham.
Oh, I love this game. This game should be on my list.
This is ranked at 418 on Board Game Geek, and I gave it a 7 out of 10. I should point out that Board Game Geek, you can say 0.5s, and if you look at your score on your profile, it says
rounds
0.5s. But if you just look at the main page, it rounds it
them
up.
up.
Yep.
So it says 7. So I either gave it a 6.5 or a 7. You'll just have to think of that from now on. But so it's Board Game Geek says I gave it a 7 out of 10. It's a 3 to 5 player game, plays in about 60 minutes from Arcane Wonders, and I mean this is a classic. You guys probably know all about this, but yes,
So good.
Sheriff of Nottingham is one person's the sheriff. Everyone has cards in their hand, and then you can kind of trade out cards in your hand, and then it's literally just. I have a bag. I put cards in the bag, and I say, Mike, I'm bringing 3 roosters.
The only thing you cannot lie is about the number of cards in the bag.
But I could have 3 apples in there, which isn't an illegal good, but I'm just trying to get more apples without letting people know. Or I could have contraband in there that I'm trying to sneak in that go face down. People don't know how many points it's giving me. But yeah, so I just say, hey. I have the fewest roosters out of everyone. I'm just trying to catch up on the rooster game, Mike. I put 3 roosters in there.
I don't believe that you have 3 roosters in there, Dan.
Why
Now-
would I lie?
As a matter of
No.
fact, Mike, I will give you $5 to open that bag.
You know what?
Dan, are you willing to give me $6 to not open this bag?
No, Tim's currently winning. Give Mike $5. Open my bag. Open my truthful bag. Then he pays you. Guess what? You pay me. I win.
Son of a.
It's so good. I love this game. This is how this works. This is how this game works.
Yes,
It
because-
You
is-
know what? I'm not opening it. You
Thank
can
you.
Well,
keep.
take my
your
$5
3
back.
Contraband.
Oh, I told you to open it.
Oh my
I
gosh.
told you to open it.
So if he had opened it and I was lying, I would have to pay him the worth of that good.
Yeah.
If I was telling the truth, he would have to pay me the worth of the goods.
Right.
And then it just goes around until everyone is sheriff twice, I
Something
believe.
like that, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the game.
I
and
could play it till everybody's been sheriff 6 times.
Yeah.
I always have so much fun
It is
playing
an
this game.
insane. This is my number 1 game for getting in character.
Oh,
Every time I play this game, I'm like,
yeah.
I say I'm just trying to bring little apples into my family. We're starving. You know, like every time I play this game, every round I just have a character depending on the good I'm bringing and stuff. And like, I love this game. Like, it just doesn't get played as much anymore because there's so many other party games that have that same kind of laugh out loud nature, but
Yeah.
playing less time. Like, I could see if someone said Sheriff Overstays is welcome, I could see it. I don't agree.
I
kinda
wouldn't
like you,
agree
but
because
like, could
I have a
see
great
it
time
by,
playing it
by
every
what
time.
you're doing.
Because I also don't think that there's any downtime because you're constantly prepared to interfere with
Yes.
other
The-
people's
the other thing is the
turns.
game is drastically better if you have people that are I think willing to like get in character and do voices up, but also like Tim said, I've played a lot of games where people don't understand about bribing and stuff and they just never do it,
Yeah.
and it drastically enhances the game to have people
Oh.
constantly trying to outbid each other and stuff, and it makes the score more fun at the end because otherwise if no one ever does any bribing, then everyone just has this insanely high score that's all super close to each other, and it's just funnier when everyone ends with like 20 points because we've been bribing each
Yeah.
other the whole time and we have no money, you know, like so.
Right.
Yeah. So Sheriff of Nottingham, first edition, not
First
the,
edition.
not the
First
new one.
edition.
First edition specifically.
But yeah, just a fantastic. I would call it a party game. I don't think it inherently is, but it is when you play it. So
yeah, it turns into a party if you play with the right people.
right.
I love Sheriff, and I talked about how if games I love haven't been played in a while for me, they slip down.
Sure, I
because
can see that.
as much as I love it, I know oftentimes when you play with people that don't game a lot, and this is a game that because of how light it is, you want to play it with non-gamers. There are some people that don't like to bluff. They hate lying. You can play this game straight, and I've seen people win playing
I have
straight.
won multiple times without lying a single time, but you got to get really lucky with your card
you
draws.
have to get lucky, and I've seen people do it,
Yeah.
but there's still some people that don't like to lie or bluff.
You're
at
right,
all.
though. I should have mentioned that. I always bring that up when I play with new players. I say, hey, just so you know, you can play this game without ever lying, but you're going to want to manipulate your hand every time you get a chance and get the cards you need, you know? So, but yes, you're right. So
Either
yes.
way, I love it. Great
So
game.
good.
Okay.
So good.
We are on to number 8.
Number 8.
My number 8, I already know, is a game that Dan hates.
Oh,
It's number 408. It's from Cosmodrome. It is designed by Ivan Lashin, who has also designed the recent hit Furnace. This is Smartphone Inc.
Oh, I thought that was Arcane Wonders that made Smartphone Inc.
Cosmodrome.
Oh.
This is a fantastic
Hey, we're
Probably
both
game.
right.
Yeah.
We're both right.
Oh, is that
You're-
because it's on your list as well that you put
No,
a different
no,
designer?
but it is a great game.
It is a great
Please
game.
don't.
There's no downtime to this game, and the turns fly. First, you're starting off. This is essentially an economic game, and you
literally
have
the actions you take are logistics. So
Yeah. They are.
And you are setting up your iPad with the apps showing are the actions that you're
You've
going to
got
take.
a little mini puzzle you're
Oh.
going, and you're trying to manipulate this secret
Action
board
crafting.
to
Trademark
give
Julia
yourself
Olmsted.
action crafting. I like
That's
that.
what my sister called
You're
it.
manipulating this to determine, okay, I need more logistics so I can spread out, or I need more of this icon so that I can upgrade my actions. That puzzle is great. Then you reveal. Then it's sequence by sequence. You just go right down. Everybody does their logistics phase. Then everybody does their pricing phase. It flies. And I love the tension in this game because the last round, when you are setting up your action board and you reveal, the price of your goods determines who has initiative order. The lower your price, you go first. So there's always in that last round who's going to have the lowest price because they get to act first and they may rack up points if they've set themselves up correctly. And that tension for that last round is excellent. I love this game. I love the dual layered board. Oh my goodness. The components are fantastic.
Yeah.
I haven't even dug into the Kickstarter modules yet. I've still only played base game and I have a blast with it. I'm a big Smartphone Inc. fan. I don't think there's enough games that have modern themes.
Sure.
And an economic game about technology, I am just on board.
Sure.
I love that theme.
I agree completely. That's why I was so excited before I played it.
Mike, I agree with everything you said. I did not. I went into this game. So Dan went into this game excited.
Right.
I went into it arms crossed.
Right,
I'm like,
which
I
means
hate.
that this is a game where you have your bar matters, it
I,
seems.
I hate the. I don't like the box art. Like I don't like the hipster dude on
see,
the
I
front.
love that box art.
like,
I
ugh.
like
It's
the,
modern.
I like the theme.
No, it
There's
is.
not
Yeah.
enough of that.
It is. But I hated the game just without playing it and without really knowing like what the gameplay was. Sat down and played it, and like, I mean, by the time I had finished trying to figure out what actions I wanted to take, I'm like, this is the best. Like, I just
Sure.
love the game so much. Was in love with it.
I'm very open about this on the channel. This is just one of those few games, very few, that I dislike just because I'm so bad at it. Like, that's literally all it is. I think the components are some of the best out there, at least in its type of style of game and stuff. You know, the theme, that's why I was interested in the game. I think that's fantastic. This building a business kind of theme and stuff. I love the clean artwork, like Beyond the Sun. Yeah, you see, you knew what I was saying because it has that
Yeah,
white,
it's
clean tech
yeah.
look, right? I like all that, and I'm literally just I played the game like 3 or 4 times. It's like I've given it chances.
Yeah.
It's not like I played it once. I played it like 3 or 4 times, and I've never gotten even close to not being in last place.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like
Yeah.
it gets to the point to where if I play the game and I always do that bad, like just I don't like playing it. Like,
Sure,
you're
I
just always
understand
getting
that.
stomped on. So again, it's like, man, great game that just evidently isn't for me. I'm terrible.
Right, right.
I
That's all it
understand
is.
that because even though losing does not determine my enjoyment of a
Right.
game, there are games out there where I'm so bad at that it does
Sure,
actually.
something that used to happen in my house a lot was when I would play with my wife, there would be a few games that I've never beaten her. We've played 20 times, and then she'll be like, "Want to play that game?" And I'm like, "Why?"
No.
Here, let's play. You win. Next game. It's just a waste of time. We know you're gonna win.
Yeah.
You know. And so it's kind of like that with smartphone. It's like I go into just being like, "Well, I'm gonna come in last, so is it worth the time investment to play?" Yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, so in other words, if you're not incompetent at economic games, you'll love this game. Moving forward. Tim, you're number 8.
End
My-
of discussion.
My number 8 is the highest ranked game on BGG on my list. Oh, no, it's not. Yes, it is. The highest ranked game on my list. Game of Thrones.
A Game of Thrones.
Game of
A Game of
Thrones.
Conquest or whatever, right? Is what it's
Yeah,
called.
it is specifically the board game, not the card game, or in any of
It
its.
crossed my mind because this is one of those games, like games I'll talk about on my list, that like only play well at the higher player
So
counts, right?
yes, 5 or 6 players is the sweet spot for this game. I don't feel like usually there's a ton of downtime, even though this game can take a while. I don't feel like there's a lot of downtime because I'm so worried about planning my moves, because basically everybody's got tokens that you assign to every unit you have on the board, and then you reveal your tokens and then you resolve them in initiative order, right? And that whole planning phase that's the meat and potatoes, right? Because that's where the timing for when you're going to betray somebody, when you're going to move, when you're going to raid, I'm going to, like, because there's been so many times where I play this game and it's like I'm defending because I'm waiting for Mike to play that attack like next to me, so I'm going to defend. He defended too. Dang it, I could have done
waste
something.
of time.
I could have done something different with that action. Or he didn't defend and he's going that way. I should have attacked because he could have moved out and I could have moved right in.
Right.
And things like that. And the timing and the stress, and it also captures the theme of the books and everything if you're
does.
into that sort of thing. And so for me, that is an IP that I love, especially the novels, and that I just get swept up in it. I love the politics of it and the negotiation and the strategy of the game. We played a game of it with 6 players, or was it 5 players?
I think it was a full 6. I don't remember, but I think it was.
And I mean, it was like 4 hours. We played a long time. Did not feel like a long time.
Nope. It flew.
It flew by. Everybody had a blast. I played it with 2 people. One person I had never even met before, like in person, and another person that I knew but hadn't played games with before, and we all had an amazing time. I think except for Caleb, because he got salty because he played badly. Play better.
Get good.
And he should know better because he's usually really good at that game and games like that. But anyways, I think everybody for the most part had a fantastic time. It was very stressful and intense, but that's what I want out of games like that.
Yeah.
And like Dan said, it is a game, 3 players, bleh, like why?
5 plus,
5
for
or
sure.
more. That's money, man. That is so good. And I just really love that game.
Yeah, I've played it once and it was a while ago, and it's one of those games where if you plan incorrectly, you will get stopped, and that
Depends on your neighbors, but
frustrating.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
also recall that I chose a family where I should have turtled, and instead I went out into the darkness and
did-
got swept up.
I did the exact opposite. The first time I played, I chose a house that if you turtle for even a round, you die.
Were you the Greyjoys?
I was the
Yes.
Greyjoys, yes.
So I need another play to get into that enjoyment because
Sure.
it's been a while and I played terribly, but I enjoyed the experience and want to try it again.
And again, the theme is so prevalent through the game
Yep.
also. So
It
if you're
really
into the
is.
theme, it's great. And if you don't
For
know
sure.
the theme or don't care, it doesn't matter because it's still a really good board game.
Yeah, talk about one of the best games that incorporates its theme.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
really up there.
So this is hilarious. My number 8 is not a Game of Thrones, but it is a copy. I mean, so it is my highest ranked game at 6 on Board Game Geek.
6.
I give this game a 10 out of 10.
Smartphone Inc.
It is a 3 to 6 player game from FFG that says it plays from 240 to 480
Oh, I know what game
minutes.
this is. Yeah. I'm like,
And that
wait,
is Twilight Imperium
Yeah.
4th edition. It's just funny because basically everything he just said. I mean, it's a game that you want the 5 or 6 player
You
count.
do.
Like that, you can play it at the lower ones, but you're just not getting the same experience. It's designed around that. And I would say that this game has slightly more downtime than
does.
Game of Thrones just because of the type of stuff you're doing, but it's a game that I don't feel the downtime because you have to pay attention to everything everyone else is doing and think about how you're going to reciprocate on your turn and how you're going to react to what's happening and everything on your turn. Like I would kind of compare this game to college, which is like you can get up from the table and walk away anytime you want. You know, you don't have to sit in class. This isn't high school. This is college. You need to go to the bathroom. Don't ask. Just go to the bathroom. But I will not repeat anything I said while you were gone. Right? Like you are missing out. You know, college, you don't have to show up. There's no attendance. Oh, you didn't want to come to work today because you want to go out with your friends? Or school today because you went out with your friends? Cool. You missed a day's worth of lessons that you have to make up for in your off time, right? Like, and that's kind of Twilight Imperium is like, you need to pay attention so much on your turn that if you need to get up, that's why people plan breaks throughout this game, because if you miss anything, it's huge. What happened when I was gone? Too much, you know? So yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. And again, most things he said with I love the depth and the strategy and the blah and the politics, like,
and the timing. And
it's extremely similar. It's kind of just which theme do you like more?
Sure, Game of Thrones is a little faster.
It's a little faster. Well, that depends on the group, I think, but I would say in general it's a little faster, and the way you're taking your actions is completely different, and that mechanic might have people do it too.
And there's an economy you're trying to finagle a little bit with Twilight Imperium, with how you're
sure, with your resources.
Your resources.
And you have
like
the two resources. You have like generic everything resource, and technically there's different colors for text and stuff too. But you have like your generic tech resources and then political resources.
Right. And how you maneuver those on your player board can affect things. You may not always have the resources you need to do some of the stuff.
Oh yeah, your little
triangle
not
there.
The tech ones, but the triangle
your
ones.
Triangle
yeah,
one.
for sure.
I love the tech tree. If Game of Thrones had a tech tree, it might be my favorite game of all time.
Yeah, sure.
You know, because I do love the tech tree in Twilight Imperium. I think that not having sort of that resource management in Game of Thrones speeds it up.
Right, might be the difference.
You know, but it's not a negative. It's just a different aspect and a different thing you need to manage and handle.
Sure.
Twilight Imperium could very easily be on my list. I just don't play it enough. I love the game. I love the experience I have when I play it. We did play like a 6-player game of that in 3.5 hours. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Everybody knew how to play.
Had an amazing, intense ending and stuff. Fantastic. Again, though, like you just said, my thing is Game of Thrones easily could have been on my list. Twilight Imperium just took its spot.
Yeah,
they're very similar.
Yeah, totally.
And I said, this was when I mentioned that my number 1 game is ranked like lower for me than my number 8 game, which is Twilight Imperium now. But like when I hear 5-player count, it's not the first game I think of. It's like, well, guys, let's play Twilight Imperium. We have 5 people, right? That's
5 people. Pull it off the shelf.
That's why you plan ahead for a game like this, and you know what you're getting into. So that
make
is
sure
my
you're
number.
hosting game night if that's going to randomly come off the
and
shelf.
be like, guys, pick anything you want off my shelf, but unload your shelf ahead of time. Everything but Twilight Imperium.
Just Twilight Imperium.
Okay, so my number 8, Twilight Imperium 4th edition.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play it. I still have not. The other 4X sci-fi game, Eclipse, is the other one I would love to play. It supports 6.
I'm interested, but
man.
everyone says that one is way more of a what do they say, like a Euro economy game versus Twilight Imperium, but
which excites me.
Sure.
Moving on to number 7.
Number 7.
This is the only one that I would actually consider kind of a party game on my list. I have been hyping this game for a while, and I finally got these fine gentlemen to play it.
Apples to apples.
And I would have enjoyed that play, but Tim was a part of it.
Also,
It's number 1 on 3, and that is Decrypto.
Oh, yeah.
Decrypto plays up to 8, and this is my go-to word game right now. I enjoy this more than Codenames. I enjoy this more than Phantom Inc. I enjoy it more than just one.
What about, have you played Letter Jam?
No.
Just wondering. We just reviewed it recently.
This game is fantastic because generally it'll take 15 to 30 minutes to play. You can play up to 8. If you play with an odd number of players, you have a 2-player team and a 3-player team, and that doesn't matter. It doesn't change the game really at any point. But what you're doing is you've got each team has 4 numbers, and they're going to put a word on top of that number. Then an encoder is going to draw a code that is a 3-digit code. Then they're going to write clues that gets your team to guess the code. So if I have 314, I'm going to write a clue to get them to guess 3, then write a clue to get them to guess 1, then a clue to get them to guess 4. If my team gets it correct, great. If we get it wrong, we gain a black token. If you get it wrong twice, you lose. Then the other team gets an opportunity to guess the code. If the other team guesses your code, they get a white chip. If they get 2 white chips, that team wins. There's a fun tension in this game where you know what kind of wiggle room you have. If you've already got one incorrect, you don't have a lot of room for error, because if your team doesn't get it, you're going to lose. But on the other hand, if the other team already has one correct, you can't be too obvious either, because if they get your code again, game over. And there's this long tension that kind of comes and goes based on how the other team is doing, and it determines how much wiggle room you have. The tension I enjoy is that you're also trying to guess what the other team's 4 words are, because that's going to help you figure out these codes. And it's just fun at the end of the game to try to guess the other team's words. I've just had a blast with this game. You can play it with anybody, and it goes up to 8, has very little downtime, and I just thoroughly enjoy this.
Yeah,
one.
the cryptos. I had a lot of fun with it. I would love to play this more. Yeah, I had a good time playing it.
Yeah, I want to play it again. I was pretty impressed with it. My only thing was I wanted the guessing the other team's actual words to be a bigger part of the game. It's a non-existent part of the game. It's more of like it would help if you did it, but it's not like actually in the rules to do it right. And I almost wish I could finagle a way to make it a scoring game instead, where depending on how many guesses you get right, you get points, and then you get an extra 1 or 2 bonus points for every word you guess correct at the end. So those are like bonus points if your team did that good. Like I almost wish I could figure out a way to do that, because when I was playing, I was inherently, because I thought it was so interesting, trying to write clues to make them not figure out the word at the same time. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then it's just like, yeah, but you don't have to do that. And I was,
So
it's
that
kind of
is
deflating.
It's part of the game, because it only, if you finish all 8 rounds, then there is score based on how many white tokens you have, how many black tokens you have, and how many of the other team's words you can guess.
Oh, okay.
But
It's back in.
But
it's got to go 8 rounds.
15, 16 games
you've
I've
never
played,
had it.
it's never gone 8 rounds. The
Right.
longest I've gone is 6 or 7 rounds. If maybe you simply shorten the game to 6 rounds, those word guesses would actually happen.
yeah.
And that would be something worth toying
Yeah,
with
yeah.
to
That's very
get that out
interesting.
of the game.
And
So
it's
that
not-
is part of it. You just rarely experience it.
Yeah, and it's not like it takes so long that you couldn't, it's like, oh, this game hardly ever comes to the table. I don't have time to finagle and play with house rules. It's like, no, this game gets to the table all
Right.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
it's a
could totally-
15-minute game.
we
It
could
gets to the
totally
table all the
try-
time.
When it's a
Just
light
try a
game, if a
different
house rule improves it, I'm
who cares?
willing to consider
Who
it.
cares?
Yeah.
Just whatever gets it played and you have fun. That's all that matters. That was your number what?
7.
That was his number 7.
Your number 7. Oof.
Yep.
My number 7, ranked 179 on this on BGG. It is really technically, I would rather prefer to only ever play this game with 6 or 8 players.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
I know. It's my number 7. It's going to pop up on Dan's list, I'm sure. Captain Sonar. Real time. I've never played with the turn based, but this is a real time strategy. 4 people are on one side, the other 4 people are on the other side. They're all manning positions in a submarine, and whether you are in engineering or you are you're marking off like the damage. I forget what does what. The captain is calling out directions that they want to go. The navigator is tracking on the map. Right? Am I doing it right?
Yeah, the navigator tracks the opponent. The first mate tracks the energy of
Oh,
what the
yeah.
captain can use and everything, and the engineer marks off those the things in the submarine.
Well, the
and-
navigator not only tracks the opponent's stuff, but they're also got to run their own, keep track of their own map so that the captain doesn't run them into rocks and stuff.
the
right?
captain draws his own.
Oh, he does draw his
Yeah.
own map. I can remember. Anyways, I don't care.
It's almost
totally,
like I know a lot about this game.
It's weird. Totally fun. It's chaotic and I prefer playing in real time because you've got to be able to listen.
Yes.
And then you will go up, you will surface, and you will try to fire. or you can surface some repair.
Yes.
You fire off into a direction. Maybe you hit somebody. You're going to call off a grid or whatever that you're going to try to hit.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I like so much about the game is it really encourages you, again, almost like Sheriff Nottingham, it really encourages you to, like, it says, here's the sentences you should say when you, like, take certain actions and stuff. And, like, at the beginning of the game, both captains hold their hands up. And it says when both teams are ready, both captains go dive, 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 and that's what starts the game, right?
Yeah.
And then when a captain's gonna take an action, they lift their hand up, and both teams have to stop. And the captain says like, "I'd like to fire a torpedo," right? And the first mate's like, "Sir, we can fire a torpedo." And he's like, "Firing torpedo at where, navigator? Fire at B3. Firing torpedo at B3." And the other captain's like, "Hit or miss," right? And then it's like, okay, back to actions, right? And like the game wants you to like pause and like talk professionally and stuff. Like
Dan
really
likes
pushes
getting
that.
character, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So anyways, I won't beat it with a dead horse, but I have had a great time every time I've played this. But again, 6 players, so there's 3 on either side, or even better, 8 players, 4 on each side. Super fun every time I play it.
Yeah, if you play 6, you just team up the captain and the first mate. They become one, because the engineer and the navigator have plenty they need to be doing, which is why we would say you need at least 6, because you don't want to be tripling up.
Right. And you could just play Sonar if you have 4 people.
Right, which I honestly highly recommend. I don't know if you were about to say something. I've played it quite a bit.
I have not played Sonar because I was concerned that they strip away some of the rules and they make you take turns. And I really feel like the game shines by being real time.
Captain Sonar is better in every way, but getting 8 players is hard. And Sonar's
true.
playable at 2 and plays great, and it basically just becomes for like $15 or something. It's
Right.
insanely cheap.
Yeah.
It basically becomes the best game of Battleship you'll ever play.
Yeah.
Right? And so people who like that kind of intense back and forth, it really does deliver that. It's just that if you can get the higher player counts, Captain Sonar is better
That's
in
where it's
every
at.
way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that's mine. Captain Sonar is my number 7.
Okay, my number 7 is, you know what? I would count this as a third-party game. I didn't even think about this one, but my number 7 is King of Tokyo.
Ooh, it was on my list. I crossed it off to add other things. King of Tokyo is super good.
King of Tokyo is ranked at 355. I give this game a 9 out of 10. I mean, that's probably an 8.5, but still, it's up there. It plays 3 to 6 players in 30 minutes by Yellow. Bob, it's pronounced Yellow. I don't know why that is so high. He says Elio.
Aiello?
Yeah, no, he says Elio. And it's like there's no other I in there, Bob. Anyway. But so yeah, everyone knows King of Tokyo, right? It's you're all a monster, huh? Yeah, you act like you don't. That's funny.
Yes.
It wasn't funny. I was being sarcastic. So everyone has a monster. And there is it's kind of a King of the Hill game, right? One player starts in the middle, and you get a point every time, or 2 points, whatever, every time you start your turn in there. If you're in Tokyo and you do damage, you punch everyone who's not in Tokyo. If you're not in Tokyo and you do damage, you punch the person who is in Tokyo. When the person in Tokyo takes damage, they can choose to swap with whoever did the damage and force them to go into Tokyo. And then you're paying cards. You're buying cards that give you one-time abilities or persistent abilities. There's an expansion called Power Up, which gives you asymmetric power decks that you're purchasing those powers as you're going on. It is a fantastic, lighthearted Yahtzee style beat up your friends game. You know,
King of the Hill Battle Yahtzee.
Yeah, King of the Hill Battle Yahtzee.
Really good.
You like King of Tokyo better than King of
I
New
have
York?
not played King of New York.
Okay.
King of New York just has different. It just has more units like you can attack. And
Yeah,
things
I've just
like
heard
that.
it's slightly more gamey.
It's
is
another
what I've
level of
heard.
complexity. But
Yeah.
yes, I mean, I'm fine with. I own both. I'm fine with either. With my kids, I play King of Tokyo. With adults, I guess I play.
I
King
prefer
of New York.
New York. I enjoy both.
Yeah, just haven't had the chance to play New York yet. Yeah,
All right, that was your number 7.
that's it. Number 7, King of Tokyo.
Excellent choice. So number 6.
Oh my
my
God.
number 6 is number 799 on Board Game
Ooh,
Geek.
good number.
It was originally published in 2007 by Valley Games, and it went out of print. Then in 2018, they made a 10th anniversary jumbo edition,
Tickets are
and
right.
it went out of print. I don't own this game. It is the only game on my list that I do not own. I would love to have a copy, but it is insanely expensive. If I owned it and could play it more, I'd move it up more. I don't think either one of you guys have played Container.
Nope. aware of it.
Container is a fantastic economic game that supports 5.
Sounds terrible.
The way Container works is you have ships that you're trying to load different color containers onto. You have a warehouse that you store these containers on. You produce them.
Are
You
these like
store them
cardboard
in their
ships?
warehouse. No, they have these huge ceramic ships. The Jumbo Edition has like 8-inch ships. These containers are well-detailed wooden containers.
Okay.
And each person has a player board with warehouses where you store your containers. Other people buy them for a fixed price and load them onto their ship by docking at your dock. So everybody's dock is kind of like their own little island or part of a peninsula. The table is the ocean, and in the middle of the board is an island. Everybody's going to draw a secret scoring card, and every different colored container is worth more points to you. So some colors may be worth more to other players than you. You are going to be producing goods, selling them to other people who may store them in their warehouse and then adjust the pricing. You take that money, and then you're going to auction for the goods on somebody's ship when they dock at the island. Okay, so when they get to that island and dock, you start an auction. The highest bidder wins everything on that ship. All those containers go onto the island, and at the end of the island, you score all the containers on your island. Okay, so there's kind of a role that you find yourself getting into. Do I want to be the guy that's warehousing goods and jacking the price up because there aren't any of those goods out there? Or do I want to be the person who's selling low because I can produce a whole bunch of these goods? Do I want to be the person that's just loading up my ship, sticking it in the auction and trying to get money from other players? Because if my ship is in the auction and somebody else buys it, they pay me. So just a really good economic game that is impossible to find now, and I would so rank it higher if I could get it. But Container is
Alas.
fantastic.
I didn't follow any of that. This is why I suck at smartphone.
Oh, it made a lot of sense to me. It sounds really interesting. I think originally I kind of didn't look at it because it's like, I don't know. But then hearing you talk about it, it's like, no, that sounds really cool.
Good.
That sounds really cool. All right, we're on number 6. My number 6 is a game that I really like, Lucky Duck Games.
That's good. It's number 6.
1,663 on BGG, which just shows I don't give a damn about their ratings.
Yeah, evidently.
Paranormal Detectives.
Okay.
I really enjoyed playing every time that I played this. I've had a really good time. So Paranormal Detectives, one person is basically a dead body, kind of like Mysterium or whatever, right? They have a card that explains how they died. It's got like a whole story, who killed them, how they died, not just how they died, but like cause of death. Maybe they asphyxiated, maybe, blah, blah, blah. How many times, maybe they were stabbed in like certain parts of their, like where are their wounds.
Right. It
And
shows
so-
you the wounds, yeah.
So the all the other players are paranormal investigators, and they are trying to be the first one to figure out like the who, where, why, and when, basically of your death. And so they've got different tools that they can use by basically playing cards that'll be like, show me this or show me this, and it could be like ghostwrite, right? So like a clue. So I take your hand and I draw something to give you a clue. About
Can't lift up the pencil. Has to be one
right.
single line.
And they're gonna ask you. Basically, you're gonna ask a question like, "How did you die?" And I might just go, blah, 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 and draw something.
yeah, you can't do a word, of course. Right?
You
Like,
can draw
a
on somebody's
knife
back
or something.
like to get them to do something. It's like whisper something.
There's a Ouija board part
Oh.
where they ask, and you can use like 5 letters, and you put them next to those letters in order, but they're in sets of 3. Right, so it's kind of like a cell phone. So like you'll put the 1 next to these 3, the 2 next to these 3, and then they have to figure out what the word is. So like the first letter's in these 3, the second letter's in these 3, and they have to figure out what word you're spelling. It's a lot of fascinating
There's
little puzzles.
It's a lot of different puzzles, and you can come at it from different angles. So when you play, each time you play, it can be a little bit different, just depending on the way the questions get asked. They've got like that rope that you can fashion
there's the rope. There's
it's almost more like a pipe cleaner or a string, where you can fashion it to look like something. So somebody's going to ask you a question, and then if you are the spirit, they're going to ask you a question, and then you have to give them the answer based on the convey it through the medium that they ask you to use. And it's so unique and it's so funny because, you're trying to figure it all out. And, and you got to be careful because a lot of the clues are public. So when you ask for
the only one I think that not everyone sees is when you write on the person's back, because
Right.
no one else sees what you're drawing on their back. But like when I'm using Tim's hand to draw an image, everyone's looking at it. So
Yeah.
you have to really plan what question you're asking based on previous clues you've got.
so
'cause
almost
you're
like a
kinda-
Spyfall kind of thing too, because
Right.
you're going to be the first one to figure it out.
Right, because you're also kind of keeping notes on what you think the words are and stuff. So you want to ask a question that might help narrow down what I'm thinking, but not be too obvious to everyone else at the same time. Yeah, and then I think you get 2 guesses in the game where the ghost, I say I'm guessing, and the ghost comes and looks at my paper, and if everything I have is correct, then I win. But if not, he tells me how many I have wrong, not what I have wrong, but how
Right,
many,
how
and
many.
then I have one more guess throughout the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just really, really cool mechanics.
It's just so unique. It's the only game I have that kind of plays like that. I find it more accessible than Mysterium. Mysterium is a lot of fun. I prefer the
Right.
not overly complicated Polish version, blah, 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 the original version of it, even though the American version's components are great, all top notch. But anyways, I find this to be more accessible. It is easier. It is a similar theme, but also easier. And there's so many. There's just a big old stack of cards of all the murders and deaths that you're not going to have a lot of overlap, and things like that. So it's just a lot of fun. It's
Another game I have not heard of.
It is
Yeah.
a
Deep Cuts today.
game I enjoy
On the bright
immensely.
side, we both have it, so
Good. I can play your copy.
Yeah, he doesn't even borrow mine. So anyways, that's my number 6, Paranormal Detectives.
okay, Dan's number 6. I've been talking about a lot over the last few months. Maybe not like extremely lately, but there was a time when I finally played it first time and I talked about it nonstop, and that is Letters from Whitechapel.
This could have made my list
It
very
is-
easily.
It is ranked 305. I gave this game a 9 out of 10. It is 2 to 6 players, plays in 90 minutes by FFG. It's actually by like a million different people. Depends on which version
It came
you
out
have.
in like 2012, and it's been
Yeah.
reprinted by a few companies since.
But so Letters from Whitechapel is one player is Jack the Ripper, and they have a spawn location, and they have, I think it's 4 murders they have to do. I honestly, I'm gonna get the rules a little messed up here because
Whitehall murders
I've
and-
played Whitehall Mystery so many times since I played that the rules are different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you need to kill like 4 people, and then everyone else are investigators. What is that? Freaking, I love that British word, detective inspector. Right?
Yeah.
And what a cool. They just gave you 2 titles, but it sounds so cool together. But
Yeah.
everyone else is like detective inspectors, and they are moving around the board. It's a hidden movement game, and they are moving around the board, and they are searching for clues, trying to find out where you have been so they can follow your path back to your home base, or just catch you and arrest you, right? There are also like these like courtesan pieces, in this game, these prostitute pieces
Oh,
that
you
like
said courtesan. That's so much nicer.
that's why I said courtesan, and everyone looked at me weird, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm talking about, guys. But the police can like manipulate their movement to try to keep them away from Jack, because Jack can do something with those. I honestly haven't seen that happen.
I think it's more just so you can try to narrow down, or like if you think because Jack's got to get to his hideout
Right.
by the end of every night, and so it's more just like, well, if I think it's more to like manipulate spatially where you.
Sure, maybe he can't walk through them just like he can't walk
Well,
through you.
it makes it harder. Like if I think your hideout is down here, I'm gonna try to not have any of the prostitutes down here. I want them up here because
Oh.
now you got a longer way to go.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't think. Again, I haven't played in a while, and I have never seen someone really manipulate them as it seems like
I don't
you
think
should.
we ever use that that much.
But I don't think you're killing those people. I
don't remember
I think
them.
there are other locations that you're choosing, just like in Whitehall. But anyway, it is still my number 1 hidden movement game. I think Letters from Whitechapel is a fantastic experience. It also just really works on that intense feeling of hidden movement tends to have this expression with them. I can't exactly know how it goes, but it's like it's the informed minority versus the uninformed majority,
Oh,
right?
sure.
So Jack is on his own, a team of 1, right? But he hears everything everyone else is saying. He has every piece of information in the game. And so the detectives have to be really careful about how they're talking about their strategy out loud, or just tell Jack what you're doing, and hope that you get him. Meanwhile, the cops, it's a team of 4 players, and they're all working together. But they don't know anything about Jack, obviously, right? But again, you guys have probably seen it. You've heard us talk about it. It's just my #1 hidden movement game. I think Letters from Whitechapel nails the theme. The artwork is fantastic, and I can't wait to play the game again. I just really loved the experience. And I also just find the lore, if you will, behind the Ripper killings and stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's
just
fascinating.
Fascinating. There's an amazing video on YouTube by a channel called Lemino or Lemino. And it's like an hour, 20-minute video where he goes over everything that happened, the suspects and everything. And I've probably listened to it 20 times. It's such a well done documentary. It's just so good. So that obviously helps with me enjoying the theme and stuff as well. But that is my number 6, Letters from Whitechapel.
I still haven't played it.
Oh, really good.
Yeah, and I enjoy hidden movement games.
I think Dan
too.
owns it.
I don't. Bob does.
Oh, so do I. I guess call
Awesome.
Bob.
Awesome. I will play it sometime.
Yep.
We are now on to the top half of our list.
Hold on. You're saying this is the top 5?
That's correct.
Oh my goodness.
It's getting serious.
And
it wasn't
don't-
before.
We
but
don't
it
have
is
any
now.
overlap yet.
It's
Not
been
a single
insane.
bit of overlap, but I got a
Insane.
feeling we're
gonna
changing that
we're
very
gonna start
soon.
crossing streams.
Number
I
5
think I'm gonna have 2.
by Roxley Games is ranked number 625.
Ooh, you're getting up there.
Oren Bishop. This is the only game he's ever designed.
Okay.
Steampunk Rally.
Oh, okay. Haven't
I
played it yet.
love Steampunk Rally.
I didn't like it.
This is
Ooh.
an engine building game about building engines. You are an inventor. Yes, I love saying that. I
Yeah.
love saying that. This is an engine building game about building engines.
Right.
If I had a nickel for every time I said that, I'd have 20 cents right now.
I'd give you a nickel to stop saying it.
I'll take your money.
Either way, that's half of the money you were going to
So
make.
you start with an inventor who has a cockpit. You do a draft. You draw 4 cards. You choose a card. You give the rest of the cards to the player to your left. You take that card, attach it to your
That's
machine.
weird how drafts work.
Take the card from the left. Drafting cards. There's going to be 4 of them. You can choose to attach them to your machine, or you can discard them for dice. You need to take your dice, roll them, and activate them on the cards to get your machine moving. This is a race. Whoever gets to the finish line first or the farthest past the finish line is going to win. I've played this with 8. There is 0 downtime.
So
the
your
draft is all simultaneous.
So you build your engine, then you race. It's like 2 different parts of the same game.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you
Kinda
have
like Galaxy
you
Truck,
have
but
a
build your
drafting phase where you're attaching parts. Then you have a race phase where simultaneously everybody rolls their dice and then activates them on the cards, which
Right.
determines maybe I'm going to get more dice, maybe I'm going to get cogs, which I'll need for re-rolls, or maybe I will get movement, which moves me along this track. There's a couple different ways to play. You can try to take the long route where you don't take damage because there's damage as you go along, because damage will make you lose parts off of your machine. And what's fun is you can try to play the long route and not take any damage, or you can go hard and reckless and you take all the shortcuts and pieces are flying off of your machine and it just feels thematic. And it's simultaneous play. There's no downtime. I have a blast playing it. I just love it all the way up to 8. I've played it with 8 and it is a ton of fun.
I played it with 1 at 6, or I played it one time at 6 players, and I was miserable the whole time. Had no fun. Bob had just gotten it. It was kind of a learning game for everybody. It took forever. I was miserable.
I thought he was going to say 4 hours. I was like, no way.
No, I mean it probably took almost 2 hours,
Okay.
and I was just like, when does the fun part happen? Now, I'm fully prepared to say anybody but Mike wants to play this game and teach me how to play it. You know, I say only because I would ask Mike, but I don't want to get turned down.
It's so weird to not be the one getting hated.
I know.
My 8-player games took an hour 20 with Teach.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought I was sitting down for. It was not that. It took way longer, and it was just like,
And you
okay.
weren't playing with Jason's group, right? Because evidently
I
his
think-
group
Yeah,
takes
right, no
I
doubt.
think it
Sorry,
can
Jason.
be tricky to teach because what's unique about this game is that here's a phase
Like
for
the way the
drafting.
steam blows
here's
off
a
and
phase,
then-
then you have a different phase to get the dice off of your cards
Right.
because once you activate them, they stay.
And it
you
could
have to
also
use cogs
it,
to remove
it could
them.
also be like a game that we recently have played together where my brain the mechanics did not make sense to me.
It's a tricky game to learn and teach because I think that race phase of how the dice activate and what the card allows you to do with that die is a little confusing at first. And it doesn't play like any other game.
Right,
It-
right. Yeah,
it
also
doesn't.
true. Yeah, I couldn't really scaffold off of anything that I've
It
had
doesn't
played
play
before.
like any other game.
Yeah.
So because of that, there is a slight learning curve. But it's truly fun, no downtime. Group of 8, you got a strategy game you want to play Steampunk Rally.
It sounds interesting. I enjoyed Galaxy Trucker when we played it.
Yeah, I like
so
Galaxy Trucker.
similar-
Galaxy Trucker,
similar
yeah.
sounding.
Yeah,
I think there's more
super
meat
fun.
to the bones on
yeah,
this one.
for sure.
Super fun though. Okay. So my number 5, also a drafting game. Also want to play. It plays fine at like 3, but man, you get 5, 6. I think even 7 players. It's even better. It might go up to 7, at least
For a
6.
drafting game?
Drafting, tile drafting. Stonemeyer games.
Oh,
Between 2
tile.
castles of Mad King Ludwig. Man,
I thought about it.
oh, baby, I love this game anyways. But then obviously the more players you have, the more tiles and variety you're going to get to see. So again, this is a game that I would play at 3 or 4 players, no problem. But 5 or more, it just gets better because you're seeing more stuff. You're not getting the same tiles back, like, oh, I don't like this one. Oh, great, I got the same load of crap that I just tried to pass off, Like, no, I'm like, ooh, this is new. And I, because I already feel like since there's only, 2 rounds of drafting, that it's, you know what I mean?
Madness.
That it's
Yeah, it
not
just goes
enough.
one way and then the other way, right?
Yeah, that
Crazy.
it's not enough. But the fact when you've got the higher players, the fact that you've got more players, now I'm really seeing a larger variety of rooms, and I just love the game. The expansion just adds to it, right? Secrets and soirees. Yeah. So I mean, it's a really good game. 609 on BGG. I feel like it should be higher.
Yeah. I agree.
Great artwork. It totally destroys Castles of Mad King Ludwig for me because I would rather play this. It is more fun than Between Two Cities, which is a really fun game. This takes just 2 things and just makes it way better.
Yep.
Way better.
I enjoy this game a lot. This game, the big thing I talked about in the review and stuff for it is this game has the best cooperative I've ever had in a game.
Well,
I just love it.
So that's the other thing, right? So I guess we should say that you're building 2 castles. Like so Mike and I would be building a castle together, and Dan and I are building a castle. And let's just say Bob's over there, and so they're building castle, each
Yeah,
building a
and then
castle
we're
with Bob.
building a castle.
So we're drafting tiles. We're like, so you're going to draft 2 on each turn, like 1 basically for this castle, 1 for this castle. Then at the end of the game, when it's all done, you're gonna score up your castles, right? And then your high score is your lowest scoring castle.
Right. So he might score that one, but you might score that one.
So
So you guys aren't necessarily scoring the same one. So you guys are kind of there's this interesting infighting where you're like Tim's trying to get more points into this one, and you're like, but I need more points into this one. So there's that going
So
on.
you're
but then
really
also,
trying to build both sides up as evenly as you
even,
can.
yeah. But then again, my favorite co-op thing in the game is just that, again, like let's say that Bob was here, right, and I'm working on these 2 castles. I loved it. Like I have these 2 tiles, and I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, Tim, I really think that this is probably the best one for this castle. Like, screw Bob. I need this one to be as strong as possible. So we're gonna do that. Cool, love you, man. Okay, Bob. Screw that guy. I had so this tile is clearly better for
Like,
this one.
I am
like,
with an idiot over there.
yeah, and I love this
Yeah,
little
no,
back
it's really
and
good.
forth co-op thing that goes on in that
It's really
game.
good.
I absolutely love it.
It's really good. Yeah.
More
so,
games Tim suggests that I haven't
I
played.
know.
man. Bob
let's
owns
see.
it.
Let's see.
Good.
Let's see my next one.
It's really good, man.
Hey, my next one. I don't think you played. We're just making a top 10 games Mike
So-
should
Yeah.
play
no
with.
crossover yet. We're getting all the way
Oh,
to
this
5, all the way
definitely
through
isn't
We're
one.
5.
getting there.
This
all the way
definitely
through
isn't
5.
one because you haven't played it. I'm 99% sure, and you haven't played it enough. I don't even know if
Okay.
you have fully played it. I think you have. But so my number 5 is my other big boy, the other game that is only good at 5 or 6 players. I would even say 6 is what you want, but I have heard that it plays okay at 5, and that is Dune. Yep, the big boy Dune. It is ranked 201. I have this game at a 9 out of 10. I don't know if that's 8.5 or 9. But so a 9 out of 10. 2 to 6 players, 120 to 180 minutes by Gale Force 9. And yeah, I mean, it's Dune. What else do you guys want me to say?
No,
Everyone has
yeah.
an extremely asymmetric faction.
This is a game. If we were making top 5 games I want to play, this would be in the
Right.
top 5
So you
because I'm
haven't played it yet.
dying
I thought
to
that
play
you
it.
did it once, like a half
I kind
game
of
or
did like a
something.
half
Yeah,
thing
okay.
one time, but and also I played like a half game of Rex.
Oh, right.
Which is
Yeah.
Dune before they had
But-
the IP.
Yeah, but Twilight Imperium, right?
Didn't they even try a spin-off called Mule? That was another one that was
I don't
based
know
on
that
the
one.
Dune universe, but it doesn't have the IP.
I am aware of
Gotcha.
the Mule IP because it's M.U.L.E, like it stands for something.
Right.
But yeah. Anyways,
Haven't played it.
Haven't played it.
I mean, there's not too much to go into here because there's just too much to talk about. It is a giant asymmetric game where there is fighting, there is
Loads of politics.
yeah, loads of politics. At the end of the day, it's basically area control. And yeah, it's there's sieges, depending on what book
I
and
always
stuff
call
you
them
hear,
sieges,
right?
yeah.
But there's like 3 or 4 of those, and then there's some capital cities, and basically at the end of the game, those are all called strongholds, and you have to hold like 3. I think it's 6 players. You have to hold 3 for a round, and if you do, you win. And
My favorite thing about this game is the Bene Gesserit faction, which
guessing.
they are, well, not only guessing, so the beginning of the game, the Bene Gesserit faction is going to pick who's going to win the game.
And on what round? I think the Emperor's going to win on round 5.
And their whole goal is to manipulate everything to make that happen.
Because the way their power works is they can flip their units to passive size. They're the only one of the games that can inhabit areas with enemy units and not fight. And so, and if there's ever 2 different units in a thing, no one else can move in. So I can put my Bene Gesserit in with Tim's troops and put them on the advisor side, and that way you cannot attack Tim this turn. There's already 2 units in this space, sir. We're talking. And I can deny combat. And then if I really need combat to happen, I can flip my guys open to my combat side. Now we have to fight because they're not advisors anymore. And they're just manipulating the game. And then, of course, they also have the voice, which is just when we do combat, there is a commander you bring, a number of units you're willing to sacrifice in the fight, and cards that are weapons. And I can just tell you one thing that you have to follow because I have the voice. I can say, don't bring a energy weapon. And you just can't because I told you to, or I can say, bring a projectile defense, and you just have to bring a projectile fence because I told you to. And I just
Then you use an atomic against it.
right, and that's just one faction's abilities,
Yeah.
and they all have these.
And they all do
insane
abilities.
crazy different things.
Assuming there's some politicking going on to
Uh,
try to get you to use that ability
Oh,
on other
Oh
people.
yes, there are
100%.
alliances that happen, and there are also
Yes.
trades you can do with spice. Where you can trade spice
Yes.
between things and pay for different things. That's the entire Atreides thing. Is he gets to know you are blind drafting. You are paying for cards that you don't know what you're getting. Except Atreides knows what you're getting. He gets to look at the card and he can be like, "You really want this? Do you want to see it? Give me 5 spice. I'll let you see it." And so yes, there's a lot of that going on in there. Yes.
Yeah.
I would love to play this game. I also know there's a barrier to entry in this game, and to just go out and buy it and
I think-
find a group that would play it with
Yeah.
you
I
would be
think
difficult.
this is one where you sit in on a game because Dan and I, we just need to get this played.
I know.
But this would be a thing, right? We've got Dan who understands the game very well. That's the ideal situation. Is you have somebody that understands the game very well, understands the factions and how they work, because it's
Yeah.
kind of like Root with a Teach,
For
where
sure.
where you really want everybody to understand the different factions.
When I played with my family, which was the first time I played it, I had them all pick the faction they wanted a week ahead of time, and I sent them personalized, typed by me player guides on how their guy is gonna go.
Dan, don't play.
And I even sent them the lore behind their character, what their guy was in the Dune world, and why they did what they did. And I said, you guys don't have to read that part, but they all did. They all loved it. They really got into it. My sister really got into it, And so when they came, they had questions, of course. It's a big game, but they understood the game mechanics. They knew, like, okay, this is what I'm good at, because I gave them a week's notice. Here's what you're going to be doing in a week. Read this, So
It
yes.
doesn't always require that much prep, but if you want to kind of excel out the gate, that's a very good way to
I
do
think
it.
a game like that should always require that much. Showing up on the day and trying to teach that game, I think, is you are setting yourself up for failure.
I think that's fair.
Anytime Dan teaches me a game, I'm going to demand that treatment now. When
Yeah.
a week in advance, give me some lore.
I'm cool with that.
please.
Right. The crypto. Okay, so here it is.
Agent Bond.
He would take more time working out that whole thing than it takes to play 3
Yep.
games of
Right.
crypto. No, excellent choice. Excellent choice. Number 5. Yeah, that's your
Would
number
love to
5.
play it.
Excellent.
Number 4.
Good number.
It is. It's my favorite number. My lucky number. This is a bag building game. It is my favorite bag building game.
I think I know what it
It
is.
does require an expansion to support 5, but now they've got a big box version, and
don't
it
like this
comes
game.
with that expansion, and
Love
that's
this
Quacks
game.
of Quedlinburg.
Wolfgang Warsch. What's it ranked on?
It is number 57.
57.
It just keeps
Yeah.
going up.
Oh, baby, that's a good game. I know
I
Dan doesn't like
love Quacks of
big games. Oh, Quacks
Quedlinburg.
is so good.
From this point forward, we are into my top 10 all-time games. This is one of them. I just have a blast playing it. I know the gripes that some people have. I built this thing up, and on the last round, I pulled all whites.
I don't care.
Too bad. It happens. It's happened to me too. And I think some people really bash on luck in games, and I get it. Hey, the best player didn't win. I'm okay with that. I play a lot of things where the best player doesn't always win. I play fantasy sports. There's luck involved in that. There's luck involved in sports and a lot of other competitions.
So here's the thing. You and I both enjoy sports immensely, right? Like that is another passion of ours outside of board gaming. We also don't mind gambling.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have a gambling
Yeah.
problem, is what we're getting at.
And so Quacks, it is there's that push your luck like gambling aspect of it. I love.
Yes.
Yes.
It adds an exciting element to the game. When there's a 1 out of 6 chance that I can pull my 6 pumpkin out and my pot just goes ding, you pull that out of the bag and you're like, yes! It causes excitement. It's celebration worthy. Yeah, it sucks when the luck doesn't go your
it
way.
happens. Who
But I
cares?
don't care. I love gaming people when I play games. I game people playing Quacks. Hey, I still have the highest score. Keep pulling, Tim.
Yeah.
Keep pulling, Tim.
Yeah.
I'm getting the bonus die. Keep pulling. And he pulls and he busts.
I'll take my rat tails. I don't care.
That's right.
I'll take those rat tails.
I think it's actually a pretty interesting catch-up mechanism when you talk about that rat tail.
Yeah.
You can game that rat tail. I don't
can.
want to take the points this time. I'm going to take the water drop instead, and I'm going to use that catch-up mechanism to make my pot
Right, because I'm
going
to
to
buy better chips anyways.
Yeah.
No, I
Yes.
love that catch-up mechanism. It's really
Man,
good.
definitely. I have not played with the Alchemists. I have Herb Witches.
I have.
And
Both. They're
definitely
good. They're
play
good.
with Herb Witches. That's what you need to support 5. Now they've got it all in one box. I'm offended because I have 2 boxes.
Yeah,
I bought-
I've got all mine in one.
Well, I
box.
didn't buy it. I got it as a gift like 2 months before Big Box came out, and I was like, son of a...
It's simultaneous play. There's
yeah, I
no
want the big box.
downtime. You can play it in an hour,
Yeah.
even with 5 people.
Again, right? Like a game I can play with my in-laws. You
You can play with
and-
everybody. Yeah.
They all have a
and
good
everybody
time.
has a blast. I did not go with the geek with definitely an issue with the stuff wearing off the chips.
Oh,
I didn't
sure.
go with the geek up set. I have coin capsules.
Yeah.
And they feel amazing. And
Sure.
it's cheap. Takes a little bit of time to put them on there, but you
Yep.
save a bit of money. And the experience of drawing those plastic
Clack,
chips
clack,
out of the
clack,
bag
clack.
is
Yeah.
10 times better than pulling cardboard chits out of the
100%.
bag.
Agreed.
So yeah, awesome,
Agreed.
awesome game.
Quacks is so good.
It
It is
is.
a very well-made game. Wolfgang Warsch, I'm just sad that I think Taverns is a much better game, and I don't think it gets talked about enough.
I love Taverns, and yes, it's underrated. I don't know that I like one more than the other, but because I love them both so much.
It's funny, Quacks, the reason I joke about disliking it so much, I mean, again, it's a very well-made game, and I brought it to a family night the other night purposely, like, this is the game we're playing because I knew they'd all love it. I know
Yeah.
people love the
And
game.
they all did, right?
It's, I mean, yeah, it's actually surprising. I thought Zach would be kind of indifferent and my mom would love it, and it was the total opposite. Zach
Yeah.
was like, that might be one of my favorite games. And my mom was like, oh, it's cool. I'd play it again. I don't know exactly what I was doing, you know, kind of thing. But it's kind of like smartphone for me. Not that I'm so bad at it, but I just, because again, it's that luck kind of thing in the game. For some reason, I know I have a thing where I say I don't like push your luck games. It's not so much that it just depends on the luck.
You do.
and
You
stuff.
like. I mean, the thing is that might not be your favorite mechanic,
Right.
but there are games you
Right.
like that
I
have
love
push your luck.
Dead Man's Draw.
I was just
right?
gonna say
Like,
Dead Man's Draw. You love that game.
yeah.
And that is a lot of push
It's
your luck.
Just that for some reason the universe says that I have the worst luck in Quack.
yeah.
Last time I played Quack, sorry, not last time because I just had that family night. Like I said, the previous time I played just with my wife because it's one of her favorite games, and I was like, "You haven't been able to play it since we've gotten our copy. Let's play it." I exploded every round, every round, and it's not like I like pushed too far, I would just draw like 5 whites first.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do I do? You know, like I just like, and I'm just like, this is my enjoyment of the game. I'm not allowed to have fun. Like, it's like my sentence for that game. I'm just not allowed to have fun with this.
You know what? Sometimes bad luck makes me want to keep playing a game.
To
I've
beat it.
played,
Break this.
Yes, there's not a lot of games I've played twice in a row. Quacks is one, and often it's when I pulled 5 straight on round 8. 5 straight whites on round
And
8.
you're like, oh, I guess I'm not
gotta do
playing this
better than
round.
this.
Yeah.
That
Gotta
was
go better.
terrible. We're going again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's your number 4.
That's my
Correct.
number 4.
Man,
Quacks.
so number 4, still no crossover,
Still
and
no
I
crossover.
doubt
Not
mine.
a
single
I
crossover.
doubt mine's going to be on Dan's list.
Okay.
And I doubt it's going to be on Mike's.
Wow.
This is the closest to social deduction that I have, but I don't really feel like it's social deduction.
I know what it is.
Detective Club.
Oh, okay.
Not what I thought.
Club. It is social deduction, but it's not. It's
doesn't-
also normal deduction.
It does, yeah, I
So-
think it's more just deduction
Yeah.
than social deduction, where social deduction can very quickly turn into like a popularity contest, right?
Yeah.
Or everybody just killed Dan, you know, or Bob's a werewolf, or Tim's a werewolf, right?
I'm a liberal.
So
Oh, boy.
right, fascist. But so in Detective Club, everybody is got a little notepad, and the one person gathers them all up, and they write down a word that they just pull. They can look at their cards, I guess, or you could just pull one off of the top of your head,
right.
and you write it down on all the notepads but one. You shuffle those notepads up, and you randomly deal them out. Then you are going to play these Mysterium or Dixit, if
Yeah,
you prefer,
Dixit, yeah.
style cards, which are just weird, random, trippy images, right? And I put that card down and I go, this represents my word. So Dan, having the word, goes, okay, like what can I play that looks like a waterfall, but doesn't, it maybe is not so on the nose that the person who doesn't have the word. So Dan might play something with like a river or a cliff, but maybe there's no water, right? Or some, you know, or something falling even. Then it goes around. Mike doesn't have the word, and he's like, "Oh crap! I have no idea what these cards have in common. I'm just gonna play this
They
one."
both have blue on it.
Yeah,
I guess
play
I'll
that
play a
one.
blue card.
Then I play my second card, and then everybody goes around and plays the second card, right? Doing under the same thing. Then once all the cards are out, I say my word and I say why I played the cards I played.
Right.
And then
I have
Dan,
to explain why I played my cards. Oh, well, clearly you can see the cliff here is hinting down to like a river below
Right,
or
right,
something
right.
like that.
and then we get to Mike, and Mike's like, clearly I knew it was waterfall, but I had terrible cards in my hand, so I played this one. Because by the second card, you might get an idea of
Right.
like, you know,
Yeah,
what,
especially
what
with the
theme
higher
is.
player counts.
And then
I've
with
seen so many people play.
and with the higher player counts, there's even more like oh my gosh, because there are legit times where you have terrible cards in your hand, and there are legit times where you just cannot convince people that you actually. So then everybody's going to guess, right? Everybody throws out their guess as to who, and then if you are the person without the word and nobody guessed you, you get points. If you guess the person who didn't have the word, you get points. And if I forget, there's like one other scoring aspect of it. Anyways, you go around a couple times, most points at the end of the game. You know, I think everybody's like the clue giver twice or once, and then depending on player count. End of the game, most points wins. I don't win. I don't even know how many times we've
Well, I
won
was
or
going to
lost.
say, it doesn't sound like you're very good at the game because when teaching the game a second ago, you said you just choose a word from your head, and it's like, or I guess you could look at your cards. It's like, no, look at your cards.
No,
Like,
it's more fun.
You need to be able to play
Well,
cards
the thing
for your
is
own word.
if I give the word, I don't really care what cards I play because it
because
doesn't
you know
matter.
you're not the trainer. You're just making it harder for everyone else.
I'm trying to get everybody to guess the right thing. Anyways, it's so much fun. I love Detective Club. Have a great time playing it. Every time we play it is a game I can play with my wife and and in-laws and stuff like that. But I can also play with regular gamers that like heavier games. Just the deduction aspect of it and the storytelling. Right. So Dan and I also if you couldn't tell, we love games where there's like
Right.
character or story. So that level of BSing your way through yourself. Well, clearly this
Yeah.
is this is this and this is
Yeah,
this.
you have those stories of like, man,
And-
remember when Tim played that mushroom card and tried to describe what it had to do with space?
Yeah. Well, you eat enough mushrooms and you go
Take a little trip up there.
yeah. So, anyways, Detective Club number 4. It is ranked 876 on BGG.
Continuing our top 10 of games Mike has not played but needs to.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know about this one. I feel like you've probably played this one, and I feel like it will probably be a crossover. We'll see. So,
Well, it's getting
Dan's
tight.
number 4 is the one of the trilogy that I like the most.
Oh, crossover.
Yep.
Crossover.
And that is
crossover.
And that is Ankh,
Yep.
Gods of Egypt.
I will refrain. I will hold my thoughts until it is my turn.
It is ranked 294. I give this game a 9 out of 10. It is 2 to 5 players in 90 minutes by Simon, or Come On, as they changed it to.
Simon.
And yeah, it's an Egyptian-themed area control game with a cool card combat mechanic. Where it's one of those games now or one of those mechanics in a lot of games now that I just really like, where you play a card during combat, right, and then it stays down. And then you have to play a different card, and eventually you get those cards back.
Game of Thrones does a similar
Game
thing.
of Thrones does that. A lot of games do that now, and I really like that mechanic. It seems to be a very easy to balance mechanic, even to completely off. But Century does that, right? So like, there's a lot out there.
Concordia does that.
There you go. I haven't played it, but I know that's what everyone does when I say that. So yeah, you're going around, you're spawning your guys, you're upgrading. You have this like, not skill tree, but like kind of a really loosey-goosey little skill thing that you're getting these skills unlocked for. And you're getting, do you know what they call it? It's not like prestige. I don't know what they call it in that. Like,
devotion.
Devotion. You're getting devotion, which is for 2 points.
It's devotion.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah,
right.
you've never played. But
And
trust
then-
me, I got a good story about a different guy named Mike that I play this game with. It was
nice.
amazing.
And then eventually, though, there's like a halfway point in the game where enough combats and stuff have happened to where now whoever is in the last place, first of all, it's whoever's below a certain point is just eliminated, right?
That's
I haven't
way
seen
later.
that happen.
That's way
Okay, that's
later
way
than what
later.
you're talking about.
But then there's a thing where gods can combine, which is what I was going to talk about. The merge mechanic, which was very divisive when the game launched. I heard a lot of very big board game YouTubers talk about how they disliked it, and I think it's
Bashed it.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it is an awesome balance mechanic and system to where those two players now are on a team. They all get combined into the higher players' stuff, and then they're still taking their turns in turn order, but they're using that person's mechanics and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know what else. I have a strong feeling we're going to talk about this game at least one more time.
Yeah, I don't know of a whole lot of area control games that force two players to combine onto the same
oh,
team.
it's so good, too.
I haven't played it. I'm just
I mean,
thinking
I've
if
heard.
I had,
I've
it
heard.
would be a
Probably
neat thing
I
to
watched
play.
a smaller YouTube channel, and they talked about how awesome that mechanic was.
Oh, that's
It's like
cool. It was the
board
board-
game
bo-
runners.
Evidently not a very
the
memorable
board
name.
game.
No, it's terrible
Jog
name.
down.
Terrible branding.
Jog.
Brisk walkthrough.
The brisk walkthrough.
So that's my 4. We'll talk about it more soon.
What? Okay.
Wow,
Ankh.
nice.
What's your number 3 there, Mr.
Number
Mike?
3. You know that mechanic you were talking about where you lay a card down
Oh,
and
this
it
game has that?
stays face up
Uh-huh.
and you have to play another card to reset those cards?
Right.
The first game I ever played that did that instantly became one of my favorite games from the get-go, and that is Concordia.
I've never played it at 5.
Oh,
but Concordia
number
is one of my
20
all-time favorite games. And
supports
like you,
5.
first time I ever played it.
Just the
Like, played a
instant
game that
I
did
played it, I'm like, this game is incredible. This is the most elegant game I have ever played. You have a hand of cards. They all have different actions on them, and they also have different ways to score. You're going to play a card and do the action.
That's it.
That's it. It's the easiest game to teach. Now, the scoring is a little finicky the first time you play it.
Yeah.
It's a little weird to score, but it is so good. I love how you have to time things. You got a time when to play cards. You got a time when to copy someone else's card. You got a time when to reset your cards so you can get that copy card back. Man, I love Concordia.
And you're moving around on a board. There's that spatial element of the moving around on the board and building in the different sections,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's not just that. I mean, there's just so many things, and then the resources and the way
route
they're generated.
building.
Yeah, it's
there's
so good.
resource generation. There's gold generation. You have to store your resources, so you're capped on how many you can hold. Everything you do affects every other player. If you're the first person to build a city, that doubles the price for the next person to build a city. If you collect resources off of one city, it flips over, and you can only collect gold from that city until somebody resets the market and allows you to get resources from it. again,
Sometimes you
timing.
need the gold, and sometimes you need the resources.
Sometimes
so
it's timing on the resources. Sometimes it's timing because you really need gold. There's a market where you can buy and or sell your resources.
and you can buy cards
Concordia.
which are like upgraded versions of your actions, so give you more actions to choose from, or better versions of your actions.
So from what you just described, do you not feel like the game has a runaway leader problem? Because it sounds like the game just keeps, like, once someone does something cool, everyone else is punished. And it just seems like that
No,
can lend
it's
itself.
so expensive to like build a city that it's hard for somebody to just go boom city, boom city, boom city, and then they lock it all out. I just feel like, and there's room to spread out also. So sometimes there have been times where it's like, Mike and I are moving in the same area, and it's like crap.
You
And
got to
then-
go a different direction.
Yeah, you just
you
have
have to spread out. You have to avoid other players at first. Then once you have some money rolling
and
in,
you've got an engine built.
then start building on where other people are, because then you'll have the money for those more
and
expensive
it doesn't
locations.
feel as expensive.
Sorry.
I've never
further on.
had a runaway leader problem with this game. Scores tend to be pretty tight. Generally, right around 90 to 100 is where most scores end up.
I believe I misunderstood too, because like I said, I haven't played the game. So it's not that once someone builds the first city, every other city is more expensive.
No,
It's
just that
cities
one
in
where they
that
built.
area.
That location.
Yeah,
That
I didn't
location.
know
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So just go somewhere else, build
Right.
your money and resources up, come back to those locations that are more expensive. It's a phenomenal game. I prefer to play with the base game. I've got different maps, and I'll play with different maps for sure. Forums, I could take them or leave them. I think some of the ones that you start the game with, there are some that are better than others. I do feel that way. We played a game with Jesse and Caleb. Caleb got a starting forum where he could trade 3 resources at the market. That is incredibly powerful for that game. He scored over 120, and I've never seen a score over 110 before in my games. And I've played this 15 times and probably another 80 times online, and I've never seen a score of above 120 like Caleb got from that starting forum. I could take him or leave him. I'd play with Salt and leave forums out.
Sure. I played
and
with Zero
also
expansion.
have not played the team version. That's not Venus. It's not Solitaria. There's a 2v2 version.
So many expansions evidently.
There's tons of different map packs. I just can't remember what the 2v2 version is. I would love to try that. But Concordia is awesome. Ignore how ugly the box is. Just go get it. It is
Agreed.
amazing.
Agreed.
I ignored the game because of how ugly the box is.
Agreed.
The game's not even
I
pretty.
stopped doing that once I played Puerto Rico and saw how
Yeah,
amazing
you have
Puerto
to.
Rico
You
was.
have to. Agreed.
Incredible game.
My number 3 is the reason that Letters from Whitechapel is not on my list.
And I know what it is.
You
yeah.
know what it is.
I
It
know
was
what
one
it
of my
is.
favorite games from last
Eminem.
year. It is ranked 1,194 on BGG. I think it should be ranked higher. It is designed by Jay Cormier. Same
So
guy who
when-
did Belfort.
This is
which
number
a-
3 on your list?
Yeah, which is
so
a
in
game
your
that I love.
mind, this is a pretty good game.
Yeah, if you manage it correctly.
I was going to say, how did you manage your list?
Yeah. So mind management. It is basically. I feel like it's best at 5. It is up to 5 players. You can play it at 2-player, which was fine. Dan and I learned it at 2-player. Played a couple games, I believe, at
Yep.
2-player, and had a good time. We enjoyed it. But man, when you can play it at 5 and you get all the other voices and everything going in.
I just prefer, same thing with Letters from My Chapel, right? I just prefer when each cop has their own voice.
Yes.
And their own person controlling them.
And so mind management, there's one person that is trying to visit certain locations on their board, and they're going to get recruits. And so you're just seeing these recruits like stack up on the sides, like slowly building towards their end goal, right? Knowing like, oh crap, if he gets to 12 or whatever it is, that's going to trigger the end of the game. We don't know where he's at. The recruiter that's going around they've got their own dry erase board behind their screen marking their movements, and it's a game of Snake. So they can't double back over their thing. Now they might have, I forget what now the person is called,
Yeah,
but there's
I
like
don't
basically a character that they can pick. There's 2 or 3 or more if you find the hidden ones that you can will give you like a special movement ability, and you basically have to play a thing saying I use this ability here. On round 4 or whatever, or at 3 o'clock or whatever, because it's like a clock, right? So then they know, oh, well, he could have jumped. It's either the ones that you come with, either jump over, like where you snaked, like orthogonally, or it can jump diagonally, and it will allow you to, bop around. So while everybody else is doing that, they're going to different locations. They're asking, because there's icons. There's like 2 icons on each square in the grid. And so you're basically trying to ask, is there, have you walked over any of these like
Right.
buses?
Yeah, and they all have weird, almost psychedelic
psychedelic
names.
trippy names. And then there's at the same time the recruiter is also like they've got these guys they're moving around and they're like blocking the agents, but the agents can also then go and like beat those guys up and get information out of them. So
Yeah.
there's a real tug of war. And then what's crazy, and I love this just blew my mind, I couldn't even manage it, was the fact that like, let's say that the recruiter keeps winning. Well, every time the recruiter wins, the other team gets out of the box and they open up a pack, which gives them a new power.
Yeah.
And stuff.
It has
So-
a balancing mechanic. It's almost like a legacy game to where the game slowly balances itself over time depending on whose team is more powerful in your game group.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and there's like 13
Yeah.
like different powers and things you can unlock. Not to mention, there are hidden clues in the rule book, in the insert on
Easter
the
eggs.
box.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd
which
talk about
which
those.
then you go to a website and it will let you print out new cards
Yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome.
and give you new things. Blew my freaking mind. It made this game like just, I already enjoyed the game a ton. The components are amazing. I did get the deluxe edition, but the components are already amazing. But then finding all these little Easter eggs and like opening up the boxes and seeing what some of the new powers are. I think I've only opened 4 of the boxes because the first couple of times we played, we didn't open anything because we're like, well, let's just see, get good at the base game first. And then the more that we've played it, I'm just like, this is so cool. There's like psychic tripwires. So like if they cross that, you've got to say, I crossed the tripwire
Right,
here.
at 7 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, so that blocked off this, so then he walked here. There, it's just really good. It's so much fun.
I got to play it with you and Jesse a while ago, a
Okay.
3-player, and yeah, it was really good. I always really like being the guy that's running.
Uh-huh.
I love the tension, and like I'm sneaking past people, and
Oh,
they don't
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, ha, ha, you idiots.
Yeah.
There's games like this, like Letters from Whitechapel, Spectre Ops, Last
Spectre
Friday.
Ops is good.
Narcos,
I mean,
like
Fury of Dracula.
Fury of Dracula, also
Dracula.
really good. I need to play the 3rd edition in person. I've only played the app. Fury of Dracula is really good.
I have that in Shrink.
But Mind Management is like the tightest version of these that still plays relatively quick, and I just have a great time playing every time. So Mind Management is my number 3.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to mention about that one was one of my favorite feelings about it is the way that they get the I don't know what they're called, the little black
Oh,
pieces,
the recruits.
recruits.
Yeah.
The way the person gets the recruits is at certain times. So like I just like
Well,
that
they reveal what they get.
That's what I
what
mean.
they've
Like,
gotten.
so they reveal in bulk, So like it's just like at 5 o'clock, nothing. At 6 o'clock, nothing. At 7 o'clock, 5 show up, and you're like, hold on. In the last 3 turns, you got 5, and then you can kind of, as you're figuring out what they have, you can start mathing. Okay, how could he have gotten 5 between those 3 hours?
And then there's like the dry erase tokens you put on the
Right.
board where you're like, okay, so I know he was here
Yeah.
on his 4th move.
yeah, and I know he wasn't here between 3 and 5.
Yeah.
And, like you can start marking that
Oh
stuff.
my
yeah,
gosh.
just really good.
It's
really
so
good stuff.
good.
Use your free time by managing your mind.
Mind.
So my number 3. My number 3 is one of the big ones for me that I mention all the time. And again, I'm just a kind of person that I almost think every game plays better at a higher play count. That's just who I am. Board gaming is a social activity for me,
Disagree.
and I want a bunch of people to play this game. Like that's just how I like it.
Oh, the Great Wall.
Well, I want it to be a good game. But yeah, that's just how I am. But so this game, the first time I played it was in Tim's garage, and I instantly was kind of blown away. The game came out of nowhere for me. I hadn't even heard of it, and we played it, and I was like, "Holy crap! I loved that." And then the second time I played it, it became my 3rd favorite game of all time. I was just like, "Yeah, it flew all the way up. I love this game." I've now played it probably around like 10 times to 15 times or something. I used to try to get it played a lot, and that is Tapestry.
Oh yeah, Tapestry is
Uh,
really good.
so-
I wanted to put this on the list.
Tapestry is currently ranked 253 on Board Game Geek. I give it a 9 out of 10. It is 1 to 5 players, 90 to 120 minutes by Stonemeyer, who we talk about just nonstop, and has had 1 game already from you. I think that's it so far. But yeah, so
Could be
Tapestry is a civ building, engine building game where you are
Tracks the game.
Tracks the game, right? You have, resource management, a very clean resource management system with that track. I like that a lot. You have kind of like tech tracks. I don't know what you want to call them, but there's like military and like food and stuff. And as you are gaining resources from that, you are removing the houses and placing them on a little Sudoku board that you're playing over here, where you're literally building up your city with 3D buildings and everything like that, and kind of shaping what your city looks like over here. And by revealing it, you're also increasing your income turn. So now, because I'm up on the military track and I've placed so many red houses over here, not only can you tell thematically that I'm a militaristic community because there's so many red buildings in my town, right? But then also, I am gaining more military income now because I'm so militaristic, right? There's also area control and resource gathering on the center board. That's honestly the weakest part of the board, but I still have fun with it. I just wish an expansion would come out that slightly upped how the military stuff worked in the middle. And then, the board is just 4 tracks on the side, and on your turn, you take an action and spend resources to move your cube up onto the tracks and gain the benefits, and that's it. You all have asymmetric civilizations, and it's just a fantastic, clean engine building game that doesn't overstay its welcome to me ever. Has fantastic balance from what I've seen so far. Now, there has been an errata, so when it launched, evidently it wasn't balanced.
That's fine.
But it did have an errata that said, hey, here's the fixes to help balance these guys out a little bit. And it has when I first played it, it was my benchmark now of this is what I want components to be in a game. It has the best components I have ever had. And so, that is Tapestry.
This isn't on my list because I don't want to play it at 5. And the reason I don't want to play it at 5 is because there's 4 tracks. Somebody's getting left out. Now,
I guess, but if you want to play it to where everyone's upping their own track, what a boring game.
Yeah, but also, right, it's already hard enough sometimes to beat people to the buildings. Like, you want those special buildings, because you get rewarded for being the first person to, like, break the cusp and get through that next tier. And so sometimes it's like, I'm not going to get anything on here because everybody is already gone and they're already focusing on this track, so now I got to go to a different one. Or, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Or sometimes I will just go, I want to go on the track nobody's on. Even if it's not like the style I normally do. Anyways, I just like it more when I can not necessarily have a track to myself, but I can feel more competitive. There's one time I played it with 5 players, and it wasn't me, but I saw somebody get bogged down, and then it made me kind of miserable because they were just griping the whole time. Oh, I can't. And you want to just be like, shut up, just play the game. They still did really well points-wise, but they did not have a good experience because they didn't. And this doesn't get the end of the game. They played well. I think they finished in like 2nd or 3rd, and it was a tight game. But they still just banged on the game because they couldn't do every single thing that they wanted to do. It made me miserable watching them be miserable, and they poo-pooed my experience, which soured my thing on 5. I get what you're saying.
I just, it's interesting that you say, I don't want to play with 5 because I want it to be more competitive. And I would just say, well, 5 sounds like it's more competitive.
Not more competitive. I want to be able to do be able to do more stuff on my tracks.
I enjoy the racing each other on the tracks.
Yeah,
it's a big part of the game. So I enjoy it at 5, but I'll also say it plays great from 3 to 5.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
100%.
play 1 or 2 because you're forced, well, obviously with 1, but even with 2, you're forced to play with the Autonoma.
No. Minimum of 3, and it's great at 3.
Yeah, and I would do 3 to 5 for sure. But yeah, Tapestry by Stonemaier. I don't think it's. I don't know. It's definitely still in my top 10. I think it's still in my top 5. I have played so many great games in this last year. Like my top 100 has just been so thrown.
I'm just gonna say, since you've joined the show, you've grown so much.
I know.
Now it has 2 expansions too.
Yeah,
yes, I haven't played the second one yet, but the first one is really good.
Yep.
Played it once at a Meeple, the only Meeple event I got to go to before everything got shut down, and enjoyed it. Have been wanting to play it since. Good choice.
All right. What is your number 2?
I lied earlier.
Yeah. What's
What?
that?
I said there was a
That you
game
haven't
I had
played a
never
game?
played, and I've played it, and I absolutely love it, and that is Ankh.
Gods of Egypt.
Ankh may become my favorite game of all time. I love this game. There's no real downtime. You move your action selector, up to 2 of them, do what it says, next.
Yeah, the action selection system of that game is so streamlined and really makes it flow.
It
Yeah,
does.
you're right.
I know Tim's going to talk about this game, so I'm going to shut up. Ankh is terrific. It's the best one of the trilogy.
Yes, I agree.
I hate to disappoint you because number 2, I am going to talk about what the game is ranked 845 on BGG. It bumped a game that would have had this spot otherwise. It re-implements a very popular IP, a game that was out of print for ages and is ridiculous to buy on the secondary market.
Really?
And now you can get it. If I'm going to play this, if we got 5 or 6 players, I'm playing Unfathomable.
See, I thought about it, but
Oh,
that
my
is
goodness
definitely
gracious.
social deduction to me. I thought about it.
There's
Cooperative.
but there's so
Sure.
much. But there's so much like management.
Yeah,
here,
no,
right?
you're right. That's why I didn't put BSG on my list because
No,
I
that's
would've.
fair. That's fair. 'Cause
Social deduction is part of the game, but there's so many mechanics that are not that social deduction.
sure.
And so that's why, yes, social deduction is absolutely a part of that game, but there's so much more to that game than just social deduction. I can justify putting it on there. And plus, I don't feel like there's a ton of downtime because you're so stressed out about what is going to happen and what everybody's doing on their turns. Dan and I love Battlestar Galactica. We love it. We advocate for it. It is a fantastic game. I think Unfathomable, while the IP is, and don't get me wrong, I love Cthulhu and Lovecraft stuff, I don't love the IP as much as I do BSG because BSG nailed it as far as like we are conveying the show, right? I mean, Game of Thrones and BSG.
When I said Game of Thrones might be the best ones, it's because BSG gives it a run for its
Oh,
money.
BSG is so good. It like just absolutely nails it. But Unfathomable, you can go out and buy right now.
Correct.
And not pay through the nose for it, right? You can pay retail for it or less. The components are top notch. It streamlines BSG in ways, and it still does some unique things and adds unique mechanics like the way the ship moves and the way that, oh my gosh.
Well, again, the thing is, it's the exact same mechanic from BSG, and it feels completely different.
So they nailed it, is what I'm saying. And every time I play this game, I've had a great time. And I played this dead tired and still thought it was fantastic. I've played it where I believe this was a game where we had somebody playing on their Switch the whole time, and I still had a good time, even though I
you're
wanted
right,
to punch
it
them in the
was.
face for that because I thought it was incredibly rude. But anyways, I still think this game is amazing. I love it. I love just the tension, right? I mean, games like this, I love how tense it can get, and you're just like, oh, we're so close. We're so close. Who's the captain? Is the captain the bad guy? Because he's going to screw us. That might have been me that one time. But, we got to get over there and repair. Do we repair now or do we repair later? Okay, well, I'm going to go over and fight these guys. I'm going to set this spell thing off and blast everybody off the sides of the ship. I mean, there's just so many good things to this game, and there's a little bit of pressure luck. There's deduction. There's the timing of things.
Variable player powers.
Yes. Unfathomable is so good, especially because I don't think anybody should pay what they are asking for BSG. If BSG was MSRP, this would be a really tough conversation.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't be for me.
No, that's fair. Totally fair. But I do like how Unfathomable streamlines
It does.
some of the
My
things.
thing is, if both were on the table and someone said, "Hey, we're down for playing it either. Which one would you play?" I'd say not even a question. Set up
Well,
BSG.
I would say, do we have 2.5
Well,
hours
that's what I
or do
said.
we
If
have
they
4
said,
hours?
play either one.
You know what I mean? Because that you can play Unfathomable a little bit faster than you can play BSG.
I think that's a bit of exaggeration. But yeah, I think that in general, from my experience of playing both games a few times, I think Unfathomable plays about 30, maybe 40 minutes faster.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that is my list. But that is my number 2.
That's my list.
That's
Let's
my whole
just
list. I'm
end
done.
it.
But you could very easily put BSG in that spot, and I wouldn't complain too much because I love everything that game brings to the table.
It is really amazing.
And have a really good time with it. Really pleased with it. Daniel, please, you're number 2.
My number 2 is just one.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, it's just one. I talk about it every single time. Just one is ranked 143 currently. It is a 10 out of 10 game for me. It's 3 to 7 players, plays in 20 minutes, which is honestly the only lie so far because for me it plays in about 2 hours because once it's like Pringles. Once you pop, it just don't stop. But yeah, by Repos Productions. But yeah, I mean, just one. It's a fun word game that I always play cooperatively. There's technically different rules and stuff, but
co-op.
it's for me. It's just one person takes a card. There's 5 words on the card. They pick a number. They say 3. Oh, 3 is Batman. Everyone writes a one-word clue to get them to guess Batman. Everyone shows each other except Mike. If there's any crossovers, they can't reveal it to Mike. Anyone who doesn't have a crossover shows Mike. He then puts the clues together, guesses the word. If he gets it right, we put it face up next to the deck. If he gets it wrong, we put it face down next to the deck. We play until we don't feel like playing anymore, and then we count which deck has more cards in it. That's if we won or lost. That's how I play it.
Yeah.
And that's the entire game. This is an insanely cheap party game. I think it is the best party game out there. There are some that come close, but I don't think anything topples it.
It's no Happy Salmon, but it's pretty fantastic.
Well, but yeah, there's nothing else to say. You guys have heard me rant about just one every top 10. So
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's his favorite strategy game. It's his favorite
Exactly.
miniatures game. It's
exactly. Favorite game for one player? I'll do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, sure.
Screw it. I'll do it.
Tactical miniatures game.
No, just one's fantastic.
It is a staple in every collection.
Yeah.
If you don't
Yes.
have it, buy it.
Yeah.
If
Then
I
go
were
play
to
it.
make which I think we did a long time ago, but if I were to make a top 10 games everyone should own, I still think it would be my number 1.
It would be very high up there for me as well.
Yep.
I could have put it in this list. I did stick to games that were more like a more strategic type of game.
Yeah, sure.
That was the only reason I kept it out.
Sure.
Love the game though,
All right.
and I do like the crypto more.
What is your? Oh, I see your number 1.
Yeah, you saw it.
I
My
just
number
saw it.
1 is number 14. This is my
14?
Stonemeyer game of the
Oh,
list.
so we each have one.
Nice. Yeah.
Scythe.
I thought about it. I haven't played it in so long, and I was like, what does it bring to the table at 5?
It's still my favorite game of all time.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Okay, nice.
I just don't want to play it at 5
didn't know
because I
that.
think it makes it take too long.
I don't. If you have 5 people that know the game and are willing to take turns when someone else is taking
sure.
their bottom row action, the box specifically says the game takes an hour and 15 minutes.
Lies.
And
Well,
no,
not at 5. Anyway.
no, I would tell hour and 15. I'm sorry, 115 minutes,
Okay,
or
much-
an hour and 55 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Now
played
I'm-
this
now I'm
game with
believing.
5 players, and then looked at my watch and was like, "We just played that in an hour and 57 minutes."
Do you just hold your watch like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, my watch, my phone. My phone is my watch.
Got
I
it.
watch my phone to get the time.
And I phoned my
Um,
watch.
I love the game of Scythe. I
really
don't
good.
care about the complaints. I don't care that
don't
the
have
tech
complaints.
tree
I
is
even
too
really-
simple.
The only 2 complaints I hear are the factions are unbalanced, which there's an errata for to fix that.
Don't care.
And I've heard someone say that they don't like that the end game trigger it can be triggered by someone who doesn't win. And I'm
I
like,
think that's awesome.
I think it's awesome. Not only
Yeah.
is that in a lot of games,
Yeah.
but I think it works great.
Yeah,
It's
the
like,
fact
hey,
that you
if
can
you're
have-
not winning,
Yeah.
don't trigger the end.
the fact that you can have
No,
one
I
person.
fundamentally disagree with that person on a lot of
Yes.
things, and this is one of those.
The fact that means there's other viable strategies than being aggressive.
Right.
I can play Polaris, which is the yellow faction. I can go over here and just keep chucking my my combat cards in as wilds and building my
Yep.
engine and totally disengaging from combat and win.
Yeah, or you can be German and you can just
Just go around marching the board, filling up the stars with combat
Yep.
successes. And that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are many times I've seen people that not trigger the end win the game. And the
Yep.
fact that that is a viable option in that game makes it even
Well,
better
it
to
also
me.
adds something that I really like in games where you don't know who's going to win until
Yes.
the end. You
Yes,
know, like
that's what I
if the
love
person who
about
triggers
Concordia.
it's anticlimactic, right? If Tim just put his nice start on,
Game
he-
over.
He wins.
Yep, he won.
You know,
Yeah.
instead it's
No.
okay, guys, game's over. End game scoring. Like what's going on?
Oh
here,
wow!
you know?
But
like,
Tim's really high on the popularity track. He's got
that's accurate.
control of
Well.
a ton of territories. But man, Dan was really over there banking his gold. Woo! Yeah, you just never know.
No, Scythe is an excellent game.
I would play it up to 7. Now you do need invaders from afar to play 7. I don't like those 2 factions as much as the others, so I play them less. But if people want to use them and play 7, no issues with it.
Sure.
I very much prefer to play with a modular board. It changes the game state slightly from game to game. And I have played the Rise of Fenris campaign with 5, and it was one of my favorite gaming experiences of all
Awesome.
time. I also will mention that some people are worried that if you lose several of the games in the campaign, why would you finish? You're so far behind.
That's what happened to Bob.
Whoever
happened to Bob.
wins the 12th campaign wins the game. So
Oh.
it's not all these scores add up, and then, well, man, I have no chance now. But did you bank some of the stuff and spend
Right,
it
so
for a
you're-
final
so you're
amazing?
future-proofing, kind of.
Yeah, you can hang on to stuff and then blow it all on the last round and win the campaign by winning the last episode of the campaign.
Yeah.
There's stuff that
Don't
unlocks
need to win the battles. You just
in-
got to win the war.
That's right. There's stuff that unlocks in that box I would use in future campaigns. Spoiler alert, sorry. Use that stuff. Man, Scythe is a phenomenal.
It's-
that game was built for me. I love it. I don't care. I think
Scythe
it's
is great.
incredible.
No, I don't have a problem with that at all. I didn't put it on my list because I'm not sure about 5, right? So like one of my all-time favorite games, I prefer not to play at 5. I prefer at 4 because of the time. I can play this. I could play like Cthulhu Wars is one of my all-time favorite games. 4 players is a sweet spot for me because it's still very competitive. The board gets very crowded, and the time is hour and a half with Teach. Like we can bang out a game of that, and everybody can go and have a really good time. And but when you start to get to 5 and higher, it gets a little clunkier. Depending on the experience level of players, there's a little bit more downtime, right? So that was my concern with a game like Scythe as well. But it makes sense. You do your bottom row action while everybody.
Yeah.
But you've got to get everybody to like do that.
Yeah.
Also true.
I've never had an issue with
Spencer.
that because it doesn't affect the board game state or the board state for anybody else.
No,
Just
yeah. Once boards,
buy or upgrade so I can move.
yeah, yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah, and I find it funny. Digital gaming has really shown us to stop blaming games for playtime because Scythe, you'll be like, "Oh, 55 minutes. It takes way longer than that." And it's like I can play a game of Scythe on my PC in 30 minutes. So it's not the game that takes that long;
Yeah.
it's the players that are taking that long. You know, like so. I just think it's funny that digital games have shown us, like Terraforming Mars. I dislike Terraforming Mars because I think it overstays its welcome every single time. I played Terraforming Mars digital the other day, and I freaking loved it. It played so fast; it was so streamlined. So yeah, I'm just like, oh man.
That's why I play Terraforming Mars solo because I play it in a half hour.
Sure,
It's
I just
a lot
don't
more fun.
like
I know
playing
you don't play
solo.
games solo.
I have played 2-player games of Scythe with Micah in 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just
That's fantastic.
Whipping through it.
Yep.
Just awesome.
Yeah, you guys both familiar with what's going
Yeah.
on and everything.
Yep.
So my number 1 has yet to be mentioned. It is ranked 294. It is the best of a trilogy. It is the third of a trilogy, which is rare when the third is the best out of a
Huh,
trilogy.
what is this?
Simon Games. It's got a theme that you don't see a lot of. It's Egyptian. Ankh, Gods of Egypt,
What?
is my number 1 on this list because it is great at 3 players. I haven't played it at 2. It is great at 4 players, but man, 5 players gets nuts. 5 players
wanna
is
get
Michael
nuts?
Keaton. Get Batman. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. It's so good. I love it at 5 players. Even with teaching, we played really fast. Relatively fast. Within like 2 hours, we played
hours.
a 5-player game with Teach, and everybody was competitive. Like it was with swings, and the merge mechanic is fantastic. I love the action selection. You know, and the way that you pick, and you can't pick an action higher than the one you just did, right? Like, so the hierarchy of that and the asymmetrical powers of each god, and then you're unlocking the own stuff on your own board, so you're tweaking out your own board and everything. And then the battle system and the battle cards, like Dan said, you go in,
so
you've got
good.
units, they've got power, and you play a card and it does a thing, right? And then you've got to play a card to pick all them cards back up. Popular thing we've been talking about in a bunch of games on these lists. It just does so many things right. The components are top notch, especially if you get the Kickstarter version,
Gorgeous.
because the pyramids and the monuments all look so good. Anyways, Ankh, I'm so excited about it. I've had a great time every time I played it. Dan and I have had like crazy stories playing it. Mike and I have had a crazy story from our game. It is just a game that I absolutely love to play, and I feel like it always goes very quickly, never overstays its welcome, and it just sings at 5 players.
It does not have a runaway leader problem because the 2 leaders,
I like that it
The
has a
2
runaway
people-
loser.
the people in the back merge together and
Oh.
become one god.
Yeah.
So in our game, I took all my crap off the board. I took my 16
Cue
followers.
up the Spice Girls, 2 become
dragged
1.
them over
And
to
it
Tim's
goes.
side of the table, and I'm like, all right, Tim, I'm going to bankroll our Loki strategy.
Oh.
Let's do this.
And what did we do? We wrecked shop.
Oh
it
my
was, It was
gosh.
Oh, I felt like a maestro. I felt like we had conducted the perfect
Nice
symphony.
I
It
think
was
you
so
and
good.
I,
like-
when we merged one as well.
It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that moment that we both had the same strategy in mind and could see it. It was like,
Because you're like, we should do this, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
And then we should do it. And you're like,
Let's-
yes, yes.
yeah, let's do that. And it was like the Transformers sound should have happened.
Everything popped
like,
into place.
here it is. Let's roll.
Like, Tim, get off of Mike's shoulders. It's like a chicken fight all of a sudden. No, it's so good. It
It's
was
so good. It's so good. I
Loved Ankh.
You know, if I hadn't played the whole Rise of Fenris campaign on Scythe, 5 players, and absolutely loved it, I'd probably move Ankh up higher. I still haven't played it at 5, but I just don't see it being any different from 4 to 5.
Oh, sure.
And I need to play it more. 5 that I've played. That's the 5 times I've played it is not enough. It's going to become one of my favorite games. It's so good.
Same.
So good.
Dan, number one.
Well, I
it's
don't
not
know.
just one, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I can live up to that madness
Woo!
that just happened there, but I will
You
say.
can't.
Well, first of all, you guys should already know what it is because we joked about it. But I will say, so, I mean, we'll talk about this in a second, I guess, but that makes Ankh the only game on all 3 of our lists. So if you're looking for a specific great 5-player
There you
game,
go.
that's clearly the best option. All 3 of us said it.
I mean, you'd be fine with just one, but
Right.
Yeah.
So my number one, I mean, we joked about it's a crossover with Tim. It's Captain Sonar.
yeah.
Yeah, so Captain
Yeah.
Sonar is 179. I give this game a 10 out of 10. 2 to 8 players, 45 to 60 minutes for Matago. We talked about most of it already. Again, just the asymmetric nature, the intensity of the getting into character, and really talk about it in like the story you get afterwards. I mean, my family still, I've only played with my family once, and they still talk about it every once in a while. My sister will just be like, so when are we going to be able to get a group together for Captain Sonar again? Like, she was just like, oh, I had such a great time. Like, she was the captain of the opponent. It was me versus her, and she won by 1 shot, right? Like, we had her damaged. She shot us twice, though, or however. I think it's twice in the normal
Sure.
game. Again, I've played Sonar a lot, so just like Whitehall Mystery, like the rules are
Yeah,
different.
it blurs together.
But yeah, so the captain keeping track of his thing, and again, like Snake, like in Mind Management, you can't go over your own line, which is why you have to surface every once in a while so you can erase your line and start going again. But then when you surface, you have to tell the opponent exactly where you are. We surfaced at B3, right, and stuff like that, and then they start hunting you down Red October style, right? And then the first mate having to keep track of what's been used and what we have enough energy for and stuff like that. And then the engineer, and when you're damaged and you repair, you have to draw on your submarine on the engineer sheet. There's like an outline of the submarine, and there's like 4 different sections of the submarine that are cut into pie sections. And the engineer, when they go up to repair, the engineer has to choose any section, and he has to draw within the lines and highlight that section, and then hand it to the next player, and they have to draw inside the lines and highlight a different section. Then when all 4 are done, you hand it to the opponent's captain, and if they think you didn't stay within the lines, they say erase it and go again, right? And meanwhile, they're still going. They're still moving and doing all their stuff, and you're having to take time to repair your thing, so you want to go as fast as possible, but stay within that line. And it's just so clever how intense that is for such a stupid kids coloring book mechanic, you know?
Yeah.
And yet it's really fun. And then again, my favorite role, Navigator. You ignore your team's existence, and you literally just listen to everything they say, and you have like a man, what are those clear sheets called from school?
Yeah,
a projector sheet. You have a
yeah.
see-through projector sheet on a map, and you're just drawing lines as they say north, west, south, west, right? And then you're just moving this sheet around on the map, like trying to line up where they could be because they can't drive through islands and stuff, right? And I just when we had to make a list of a game that plays great at a higher player count, it was the first thing I wrote down. I mean, you can see it's the top of my page. I wrote Captain Sonar. What else am I going to talk about? You know. Now, like Tim said, this is specific. I would say you can technically play with any player count from 2 to 8. But it's a 6 or 8 player game. Like, that is what it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about it enough now. Captain Sonar, guys, if you normally get groups that big together, I really suggest picking this up. There are very few things that get you this type of energy.
You get
and
everybody
stuff.
ramped up, and then you can break into groups and play
Yeah.
different games.
Yeah,
There
for
is
sure.
truly nothing like it.
There's nothing like it.
Nothing like it.
Well, Battleship, but that doesn't
Well,
count.
right, but I call it Battleship on acid.
yeah,
is like
it's
what I
what
call
Battleship was meant to
It's
be.
yes, it's what the designer pictured in his head before he
And then
designed
Milton
it.
Bradley's like, no, we can't.
Yeah,
That's-
we can't afford that.
never
Dumb
saw
it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are used to Clue. We can't be going crazy like that, you madman. Yeah, so Honorable mentions?
That
Yeah, so let's
wraps
go into
up the
honorable
top
mentions
10.
real quick without going into too much detail because
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
gone long.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I have two that I'm gonna mention. That's just it's stuff that you guys mentioned. So again, Scythe, it would have made my list.
Sure.
I just didn't think what made it special at 5, right? Like, why would I say, hey, let's play this at 5 when anything else? And Battlestar Galactica.
Sure.
Again, if I didn't think I just think the social deduction in that game is the main part of the game. Like, I just
Fair.
feel like it is. Like, yeah, it's a semi-co-op game, but the entire time, what's in the back of your mind is who's my enemy, right?
Right.
And you're trying to see what they're doing and everything.
Well,
so
right.
that's just me.
And
That's why
even-
it wasn't there.
Sure, that's totally fair. One is not on my list officially, but will be the more I get to play it, is Cosmic Encounter.
I was waiting for that.
I need to play it more. I had a blast when I played it. But yes, King of Tokyo, but it could also be King of New York, is on my honorable mentions. A game that I absolutely love. I don't know why. The reason it's on my list is because 5 doesn't make it better, but it still plays really well at 5, is Empire's Age of Discovery.
Oh, okay.
It is a Glenn Drover game I absolutely love.
That's good.
And it's just one of my favorite games. A game that is a blast. The more players you have, it just got bumped because I needed to put like Game of Thrones and stuff on my list. Is Epic Spell Wars. The more players you have, the more fun it is.
Madness.
The more chaos and madness that there is. It's mean, but it's a lot, and it's adult themed. But it is really fun and hilarious. Cthulhu Wars would have been on my list, and the more I thought about it, it's like I'd rather play this at 4, and I love playing Ankh at 5. So there's no reason Cthulhu Wars should be on this list. Bumped
There's
it off.
also Duel, which is great.
Right, but not good for the 5 to.
No, yeah.
But yeah, Duel's really
I was just
good.
saying, like, you tend to lean towards the lower player counts. For Duel,
Yeah. Defenders of the Realm is a game that I just love. It is a pandemic killer. It plays very, very well at 5, but again, there were just other games I kind of wanted on the list. And the last one I'll mention is probably a game. It is absolutely a game I want to play more than I do because I love it every single time I play it. And I don't know if I've ever played it at 5, but I saw it played up to 5. Mourner's Call, Court of the Dead.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that, and I freaking love that game.
That game is so good. And
yeah, we've only played it at 3 and 4, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And I played it a handful of times, and every time I'm like, I love this game. For some reason, I don't bring it out to the table.
Talk about the opposite problem of smartphone. I have never lost that game, and I just have such a great time when I play it. Like I am just accidentally good. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just like, this makes sense. Oh, I won. How? What did I do?
No, it's a really good underrated game that a lot of people didn't see or not aware of.
It's too
But
bad.
Man,
It is a fantastic
We might-
worker placement area control.
I think we need to revisit it maybe and do like a re-review and see if
Mm-hmm.
our ratings have changed, and then give like Mike an opportunity.
Well, yeah,
to
it just
sit
gives
in
us
on
an
it.
advanced or a reason to play it again.
Yeah. Whoops. Hate it when that happens.
It's the honorable mentions of games Mike hasn't played yet, but needs to.
So, anyways, those are all of my honorable mentions. You want to burn through
Excellent.
any really
so,
quick? or-
yeah, speaking of games that I never lose at and is an honorable mention for me is Cosmic Encounter.
Oh, right
I
on.
always say I'm going to pick my alliance before the game starts. And if you're willing to partner with me for the entire game, I will see to it that we win together.
I mean, it's hard
And I've
to,
done it every time.
It's hard to lose a game where everyone can win every game.
Well, I mean, that's fair. But I want to win it with less
Sure.
people.
Yeah,
one
yeah,
other
yeah.
person. I picked that one person at the beginning of the game, and you can't beat me if they stick to that partnership. I love that game. Some of my greatest experiences have happened with that game. But I bought it 4 years ago and haven't played it since. So I traded it to Tim.
You did.
Oh,
And
that's
it's
where
that
your
whole
copy came
recency
from.
bias is. It's like I just couldn't find a group for
Yeah.
it.
Sure.
Now
Guess
I've got
what?
one. I'm
If-
excited to play
yeah.
it again.
Yeah,
I can't
even if
wait.
you don't include me, you have a group for it.
That's true. Yep, I'll just borrow it.
You do have a group for
It's
it.
got my DNA all over it.
Ooh.
Now,
That smelled weird.
other honorable mentions: Archipelago. Archipelago is a kind of semi-co-op game where there is a trader, but it has worker placement. It has variable player powers that you can buy. It has an economy. There's a lot of mechanisms in this game for a game that's, I think, nearly 10 years old now. It is fantastic. I just haven't played it in years and need to play it again. It is a very good game.
I've heard a lot about it, yeah. Haven't played it.
I love Raccoon Tycoon at 5.
At 5?
Yeah.
Gosh, I feel like it gets too long.
I don't mind it because it has an auction. Everybody's involved when there's an auction in a game. I love economy games
Oh,
and I
Dan's
like
face.
auctions. So Raccoon Tycoon.
I just had a really rough time playing that.
I enjoy that one quite a bit. For a straightforward economic game that supports 5 and plays
So,
in around an hour.
I've seen the theme. Dan does not like
I
economic
tend to
games.
not like economic games. It's
'Kay.
true.
And
Or
Mike
like
does.
stockpile control, or not stockpile, stock exchange control stuff. Like, that whole market manipulation just feels like you're controlling the stocks, and I just so
Do you like QE?
uninterested in the news.
No, QE.
Oh,
Do you like QE?
I thought you said Huey. It was a joke. Yeah, QE's fun, but it's
terrible.
so abstracted, stupid. You're
Sure.
not controlling the market. You're just choosing the market and seeing what happens.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
not
yeah.
like, oh, we went up 2 points today. You're like, $5 billion. Sir, it is not worth that. I don't care.
That's what I bet.
Look,
I
it's
had
mine.
to sneak QE in here. I guess it could be an honor. I like
It's
it.
not, but it only plays 4,
There-
so
yeah.
you can't.
Oh, it
can't be on
does.
this
That's
list.
crazy.
No,
I
I
just-
thought it went up to 5.
It
Oh, did it
feels
go
like
up to
this
5?
big party
It goes
game.
up to 5.
Okay.
Does it?
It
Okay.
does, yes. And
I
there's
thought it
an
only went up to
expansion
4.
coming. Can't wait. Terra Mystica.
Oh, okay.
I
The
haven't
more
played.
people you have with Terra Mystica, the better it is, because adjacency to other players gives
Oh.
you more power in your pool. The more power you have, the more crap you can do, and the more
That's-
fun that game is.
That's why Tapestry forces you to play with Automa at 2 players, is because it gives you the third player on the board and your neighbors and stuff. Like, it just makes that engine work better.
Yeah, because you need to have. Sometimes you may not meet a prereq for a tech that you can unlock, but if your neighbors have reached a certain point,
Yeah, so
you
it just
can-
makes all that cleaner. But yeah, similar. I've played Terra Mystica once and Gaia Project once. I don't remember either. Like, they just didn't
haven't-
stick with me for some reason.
I haven't played Gaia
I
yet.
played half of a game of Gaia,
Right.
and enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
own Terra Mystica.
The more, the
have not
better.
played.
It's an amazing game. Chinatown got replaced by
Love it.
Horrified, but it's a great game. Go play Chinatown.
I liked it when we played it. We played it digitally.
Yeah, a
That was
couple
my
times.
first time playing
I said
it. And
Chinatown was replaced by Horrified. Sorry, it was replaced
Yeah,
by Rival Restaurants
right.
because it's a trading game, and I like the theme of Rival Restaurants better.
But yeah, I just again, those kind of games I just tend to have. They're fun and I like them and I like playing with other people. It's just I always have that one person in the group who's like, "You clearly should make this deal, Dan." I'm like, "Well, now I just don't want to because you told me to."
Well, in Chinatown, actually, since you can actually look at, okay, a set of 3 makes me $50,000. You see the inherent value of what that trade is going to net the other person, and it makes it more difficult to make trades because some people really want it to be an eye for an eye. Well, I want this trade to make me $50,000 if it's going to make you $50,000 every turn. Rival Restaurants doesn't have that issue. It's kind of like, okay, you're going to take that ingredient that I can't use, and all right, fine, give me something I can put on my recipe. It solves that issue, I think.
Right on.
Sidereal Confluence, an excellent
Wow,
trading
haven't played
game.
it yet. It looks fantastic.
There's a steep learning curve here because everybody has a variable player power that allows them to generate a resource. And inherently, every player is going to have ideal trading partners. Well, you're going to be trading resources and using them to fulfill contracts, essentially.
Right.
Man, the table banner in this game is awesome. I played it with 7 and was blown away, but it's been 6 years since I've played it, and I played it once. I couldn't put it on this list because of that,
Sure.
but had more opportunities. Man, it's phenomenal. It's a really good game.
Sure.
All right. Well, that's our top 10. I'll run through real quick without any explanations.
Yep.
Mike, why don't you do your 10 first?
Number 10, Horrified. Number 9, Rival Restaurants. Number 8, Smartphone Inc. Number 7, Decrypto. Number 6, Container. Number 5, Steampunk Rally. Number 4, Quacks of Quedlinburg. Number 3, Concordia. Number 2, Ankh. And number 1, Scythe.
In my top 10, Happy Salmon is number 10. Number 9 is Mask of the Red Death. Coming in at number 8, Game of Thrones. Then at 7, Captain Sonar. Ironically, 7 is a horrible player count for that. Then at number 6, Paranormal Detectives. Then 5 is Between Two Castles. 4, where's my number 4? There it is, Detective Club. Number 3, Mind Management. Number 2 is Unfathomable. And number 1 is Ankh.
10, Shadow Network. 9, Sheriff of Nottingham. 8, Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. 7, King of Tokyo. 6, Letters from Whitechapel. 5, Dune. 4, Ankh, Gods of Egypt, a 3-way crossover.
Yeah.
3, Tapestry. 2, Just One. And 1, Captain Sonar, a crossover.
Also, terrible player count for that.
one.
Yeah.
That would be pretty bad. The only non-playable player.
Wait,
card.
where did I go on that turn?
So anyways, guys, this has been our top 10 games of 5 or more players that aren't just like social deduction. Be sure to check out our Discord channel. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, blah, 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 blah.
Also, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell.
Wow. Hey, thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Welcome.
All right, guys, for the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
I've been Mike in Bob's seat.
Dan in Dan's seat.
We'll see you next time in somebody's seat.
Thanks for checking out the Board Game Rundown. If you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Share our videos on social media and spread the word. We publish new content weekly, including reviews, unboxing, and Let's Plays. And as always, thanks for watching.